Our boy is currently trauma dumping about his past. Apparently some jerk named Kim Sol forced him into a hellish boxing boot camp just because he needed a sparring partner. Why didn't he just quit? Well, he figured getting punched in the face was just a slightly better flavor of hell than whatever else he had going on. The only problem is his therapist right now is a literal logistics robot named Pax. Pax does not care about his tragic backstory, it just detects an unregistered box and politely asks our guy to get the heck out of the way so it can do its actual job. He sighs and steps aside, letting the tin can carry on. Standing alone in the middle of a massive automated warehouse, he realizes there is absolutely zero human warmth in this place. It is just endless rows of drones and robots doing all the heavy lifting. He looks up at the mechanical dystopia and wonders how a logistics center can be this dead. He definitely signed up for the wrong gig. Flashback to 2 months ago. Our guy was fresh out of the military and ready to breathe that sweet civilian air. But his freedom high lasted exactly 2 seconds before his phone started buzzing. His parents called to casually drop the bomb that they moved to a totally different city without him. As a graduation gift, they paid 6 months of his rent and basically told him to have a nice life. Talk about getting ghosted by your own bloodline. Our boy just got out of the military with 6 months of rent paid, a fat savings account, and a government scholarship. He is living the dream and not rushing into the grind. Instead, he is lying in bed fantasizing about scoring a cute cafe job and starring in his own little rom-com. But reality hits him like a truck. He gets instantly rejected at the door because he lacks experience. Forget the pink romance, he cannot even touch a cash register. Now he is back to rotting in bed, realizing the job market is an absolute nightmare. So he settles for the next best thing, a gig at the massive PAX fulfillment center. But instead of cute coworkers, he is surrounded by cold, soulless delivery drones. He sighs, lamenting the absolute lack of human warmth in this automated hellscape. Suddenly his manager barks his name, Kim Jong-gyum. The guy shoves a clipboard in his face, complaining that the system says they have tuna cans but the shelves are empty. Jong-gyum slaps on a fake customer service smile and agrees to handle it, while internally roasting the guy. Honestly, the robots have more personality than Manager Shin. He heads deep into the massive storage area to hunt down the missing inventory. The place is an absolute maze of stacked boxes, and he starts scanning the aisles for the rogue tuna. Our boy finally spots the missing box of tuna cans way up on the top shelf. He climbs up the ladder to grab it, complaining that it should have been on the ground floor to begin with. But right as he secures the package, a massive slam echoes through the aisle. He rushes over and jiggles the handle, but the heavy metal door is completely jammed. Annoyed that he is actually getting locked in a warehouse like a total clown, he tries calling his manager. Of course, it goes straight to voicemail. He debates calling emergency services, but quickly talks himself out of it. It is not a freezer, and he really does not want to make things awkward with his boss over a simple jammed door. Instead, he texts his sister to complain about his new escape room reality. She laughs it off at first, but then drops a casual text saying she just heard a whole building collapse outside her house. Before he can even process that wild update, she calls him. He picks up, ready to ask what the hell she is talking about, but the line immediately goes dead. He stares at the screen, thinking she is just pulling a weird prank. But before he can dial her back, a violent tremor rips through the entire facility, throwing him straight onto his back. Suddenly, the warehouse turns into a rave with red emergency lights flashing and an automated voice telling everyone to evacuate immediately. Outside, some random red-haired dude is absolutely losing his mind. Meanwhile, our boy is trapped inside, banging on the metal door and screaming for someone to let him out. He whips out his phone to dial emergency services, but of course he has 0 bars and his battery is on life support. He starts stressing out, wondering if World War III just dropped out of nowhere. But before he can spiral too hard, he hears something weird. Something massive slams into the door from the outside. His hand shakes, he reaches for the handle. A terrifying screech echoes through the metal and his survival instincts finally kick in. He realizes instantly that if he makes even a single peep, he is going to get packed up. Out in the halls, that red-haired guy hears heavy footsteps approaching and just completely folds, dropping to his knees in pure terror. Back inside, our guy just slumps against the door, listening to the chaos outside. Cut to a bit later and he is just chilling in the dark eating canned tuna. Turns out getting locked in the warehouse was actually the ultimate VIP survival strat. Our boy has been chilling in this warehouse for 3 straight days. He figures since nobody came looking for him, something apocalyptic definitely popped off outside. He is just munching on canned tuna, realizing this accidental lock-in actually saved his life. The blaring alarms finally died down so he can catch some sleep, but his phone battery is on life support. He types out a final dramatic note, wondering how long he can actually hold out. He sighs, enjoying the peace and quiet, but still questioning what on earth is happening out there. Right on cue, a glowing blue system window pops up right in his face. It tells him he has been chosen and needs to check his brand new awakened ability. The screen reveals a skill called My Own Subspace. At level 1, he can store exactly 1 object right in front of him. Our guy just stares at it and laughs, fully convinced the isolation has finally cracked his brain and he is straight up hallucinating. Thinking it is all a delusion, he decides to play along. He jokes that if he can store anything, he might as well bag up the entire massive fulfillment center he is sitting inside. The system does not miss a beat, immediately locking onto the building and asking for confirmation. He casually agrees and instantly gets hit with a massive shockwave. The dude is violently blasted backwards, skidding across the dirt as his brain tries to process that he just accidentally pocketed an entire commercial warehouse. Our boy sits up in the rubble, completely dazed. He looks around expecting to see the warehouse, but instead finds himself in a straight-up post-apocalyptic wasteland. The entire fulfillment center is just gone, and the city looks like it got hit by a nuke. A system window pops up announcing the storage process is starting. Suddenly, a wave of intense nausea hits him and he violently throws up all those canned peaches he just ate. The system casually mentions it found a suitable operating system and starts updating while our guy clutches his head, fighting off a massive migraine. But the headache is the least of his problems. He freezes in absolute terror as a massive shadow falls over him. He slowly turns around and realizes he is standing right in front of a giant blood-soaked monster straight out of a nightmare. He desperately tries to calm himself down. He rationalizes that whatever this ugly gorilla thing is, it might just pass by if he stays perfectly still. But his solid stealth plan is immediately ruined when some random dude sprints past screaming his lungs out for help. The monster instantly aggroes and lets out a deafening roar. Just as our boy hopes to stay hidden, some random dude comes sprinting past screaming his lungs out, and right on his heels is a massive blood-soaked orc that immediately stomps the guy into a red puddle. So much for laying low. Our guy books it in the opposite direction, absolutely terrified and wondering why a fantasy monster is doing cardio in the real world. But this ugly bastard is fast and closing the distance quick. Right as he is about to become Orc Chow, the system finally finishes its update. A prompt pops up asking if he wants to enter his new subspace. He screams yes without a second thought. The monster swings its massive fist, and our boy braces for the end, thinking he clicked except a second too late. But a flash of blue light teleports him away just in time. He opens his eyes, expecting to be missing a head, only to find himself standing safely behind a glowing barrier while the raging orc uselessly pounds on the glass outside. Still shaking, he asks if the monster can get in. A little delivery drone casually floats by and confirms he is completely safe. The system chimes in, stating that as the master of the subspace, absolutely nothing can enter or leave without his permission, leaving our guy completely dumbfounded at his new god-tier safe house. A system notification pops up to confirm he has successfully entered his own personal subspace. Our boy turns around and gasps in absolute disbelief. That ugly gray orc is standing right behind him, but it is completely blocked by an invisible barrier. He takes a look around and realizes he is standing right inside the massive logistics center he just stored away. Our boy looks up to see drones buzzing around the massive warehouse. He can hardly believe he actually managed to pocket the entire fulfillment center inside his own subspace. A system window pops up to congratulate him on entering the parallel dimension for the first time. His reward for surviving the tutorial is a shiny blue mana stone that materializes right into his palms. But he does not have much time to admire the shiny new loot because that massive bloodthirsty orc is still pounding on the barrier right behind him. He nervously asks if he is safe in here, and an unseen voice confirms the ugly bastard cannot break through. Another system window pops up showing the stats for his newly acquired Level 1 fulfillment center. It is a massive 5-story warehouse with a shipping speed of 40 miles per hour. He notices a timer ticking down and realizes the warehouse only has 2 minutes of power left before everything shuts down. The little helper drone explains that this massive warehouse now runs purely on mana stones. Luckily, our boy just scored one, which is enough to keep the lights on and the AC running for a solid 24 hours. He realizes the AI has definitely gotten a massive brain upgrade since they got sucked into this parallel dimension. Suddenly, a whole fleet of drones whir to life around him, and it hits him just how critical this power supply really is. This place is packed with fresh veggies, premium meats, and ready-to-eat meals. Out in the real world, it is an absolute apocalyptic war zone right now, so food is literally the most valuable currency on Earth. If the power cuts out and the freezers die, it is basically a slow death sentence. He double-checks with the drone to make sure this single shiny rock can actually power the entire facility. The drone confirms it and casually mentions that he can farm more of these stones by killing infernal beings. Our guy slowly turns around to look at the massive bloodthirsty orc currently trying to smash through his invisible barrier. Yeah, that definitely counts as an infernal being. A mechanical claw swoops down and snatches the rock right out of his hand to boot up the grid. With the power secured, he immediately asks the AI if the product catalog is still fully functional. Our boy needs a weapon. He digs through a box of warehouse tools, checking the system prices. A camping axe for 20 bucks and a kitchen knife for 10. Not exactly legendary loot, but it will have to do. He tells the robot helper that getting up close and personal with that massive bloody orc is a guaranteed death sentence. He has to play the ranged game, but he seriously doubts these cheap hardware store tools are going to put a dent in that absolute unit. Then again, he does not need to one-shot the boss, he just needs to bleed it out. Channeling his former Special Forces training, our guy winds up and yeets the axe straight through the portal. It sinks right into the monster's meaty shoulder, making it squeal like a pig. But the beast just tanks the hit. Our boy is flabbergasted by the sheer density of those gains. He scrambles back to the cardboard box, realizing a flimsy pocket knife will not do squat. He needs more heavy artillery, but when he asks the robot for an inventory check, he realizes they only have a couple of axes left in stock. Our boy is stressing over his limited ammo. He asks the system to check the inventory, wondering if he needs to start chucking bowling balls to do some real damage. The drone hits him with the numbers, 15 camping axes left. But wait, that math is not mathing. He already took some out of the box. He looks around the massive facility and realizes something insane. The floor is literally littered with glowing duplicated axes. The system drops a massive lore bomb. Everything in this subspace is just digital data converted from real objects. That means he can copy them infinitely. They can break, but they will never run out. Our guy just unlocked the infinite ammo glitch. He stares down the ugly mug of the orc through the portal, realizing he can just spam throw these things until the monster drops. But he jokes that his arm is going to give out and need major surgery before that health bar hits 0. The drone chimes in with a better idea. Shipping is actually a skill. Right now it has a 30-second cooldown, but he can upgrade it later. All he has to do is picture the item, say the magic words, and the system will auto-aim that package right into the monster's face. Our boy tests out his new Amazon Prime delivery service by shipping a tactical axe straight into the orc's dome. The beast drops dead on the pavement like a sack of potatoes. Back in the warehouse, the helper drone hovers over him, dropping some system knowledge. It turns out his default shipping speed is 40 miles per hour, but he can crank that bad boy up to 50 if he feeds the system more of those shiny mana stones. Our guy is sweating bullets, realizing he basically has a lethal projectile launcher at his fingertips. Outside the barrier, the once terrifying monster is now just roadkill with a camping tool sticking out of its neck. Our boy takes one last look at his handiwork before getting down to business. He hits up the system shop and drops some serious one on a fresh fit. He equips some lightweight battle boots and tactical camo pants to replace his civilian clothes. Now he actually looks like a former Special Forces soldier ready to survive the apocalypse instead of a guy working the night shift. Next up on the shopping list is a detailed map of Seoul and a permanent marker. He slaps the map down and starts circling key districts like Gangnam and Yeong. He needs to figure out a route to save his family, and he needs to do it fast. Our boy whips out a fresh marker and starts plotting his apocalyptic road trip. He circles Dobong and Ujeongbu on the map, charting a rescue route starting all the way from Gunpo. He knows his family is out there somewhere, and he has to haul ass if he wants to reach them in time. Walking is totally out of the question. Luckily, his infinite warehouse comes with some sweet perks. It might not be a literal Ferrari, but in a ruined wasteland, this premium electric mountain bike is basically a luxury sports car. He slams his boot onto the pedal and gets the electric motor whirring. With the sun setting over the burning skyline, our boy rides out into the monster-infested streets. He is ready to play the ultimate delivery boy and bring his family back alive. Our boy is cruising through the apocalyptic wasteland on his brand new electric bike. It has only been 30 minutes since he popped out of his personal pocket dimension, but he has already packed up 12 of those ugly gray orcs. Suddenly, a massive muscle-bound freak tries to jump him from the shadows, but our guy just casually hops off his ride and phases right through his glowing blue dimensional barrier. The big dumb brute slams face first into the shield like a bird hitting a freshly cleaned window. Our boy realizes his parallel dimension skill is completely busted. He casually swipes his hand and sends a dimensional slash right through the barrier. The attack slices a massive chunk out of the monster's shoulder and forces it to drop its weapon. While the oversized goblin throws a temper tantrum against the unbreakable shield, our guy checks his system interface. His shipping skill is currently on a 23-second cooldown. It has a pretty terrible 30-foot range, and his aim is absolute garbage, but he knows he can juice it up later using mana stones. But shipping out packages is not the only trick his automated logistics system can pull off. He triggers his product recall ability, and the camping axe he threw earlier comes flying right back like a bloody boomerang. Our boy watches the severed hand bounce off his barrier and realizes this recall skill is just as busted as his shipping one. He doesn't really need it for basic items, but as he watches a shiny rock float up from the dead monster, it clicks. He can recall mana stones straight to his inventory. A system ding confirms he just bagged his 13th stone, though he complains he actually has to do the dirty work of killing them first. Looking at his trusty little drone, he figures out the logic. Product recall only brings back stuff he shipped out, and he definitely didn't ship any magic rocks. But by killing these ugly bastards, the system registers their loot drops as his personal property. Basically, real life is just an RPG now. He steps out of his safe zone, glad he accidentally kidnapped the entire warehouse AI to keep his parallel dimension running. But the second his boot hits the pavement, he freezes. A massive screech echoes through the ruined city. He looks up at the moon and spots a giant flying lizard carrying a whole deer like it is a takeout order. So much for just dealing with ground troops. So our guy starts sweating, realizing that taking down a winged beast with a wingspan bigger than a minivan is going to be a massive headache. Suddenly, loud booming footsteps shake the ground. He wonders if he is losing his mind because that racket is way too loud for just one monster. Then his ear twitches. Someone is screaming for help. He whips his head around, shocked to find actual human life in this wasteland. Down the street, a terrified dude is sprinting for his life while that exact same flying nightmare swoops in for the kill. Suddenly, a guy in a pink vest gets absolutely swatted out of nowhere. He goes tumbling across the pavement while his buddy in a blue vest rushes over to play hero with a tiny little knife. But before he can even get close, a massive winged beast crashes down right next to his fallen friend. The blue vest guy freezes in pure terror as the monster drools right in his face, but then the beast just turns its head away, completely ignoring him. He stands there confused as hell, wondering why he isn't currently a snack. Then the horrifying realization hits him. The monster was targeting his buddy from the start because he's smaller and easier prey. He grips his pathetic little knife, trembling and wondering how he's supposed to distract a giant flying lizard with a glorified letter opener. Just as he's about to lose all hope, a sudden ringing sound catches his attention. A bicycle bell rings out from the dust. Just as the blue vest guy is about to become Wyvern Chow, a blinding flash of light cuts through the ruins. A massive thwack echoes across the pavement, leaving both survivors absolutely stunned. The giant flying lizard violently tumbles backward and crashes into the dirt. The blue vest guy stares in disbelief at the tactical axe buried deep in the monster's neck. He cannot wrap his head around the fact that a simple thrown axe just one-shotted a whole wyvern. He glances over to the source of the throw, and out of the dust rolls our boy on his trusty electric steed. The headlight flashes as he casually hits the brakes and asks if everyone is okay. The two survivors are absolutely flabbergasted. They wonder if this guy is some elite special forces soldier, completely mind-blown that he managed to snipe a flying monster while riding a literal bicycle. Our boy just stands there looking slightly awkward as the two grown men immediately drop into a deep bow to thank him for saving their lives. The survivors are absolutely starstruck. They figure he has to be some elite soldier based on his uniform and the fact that he just 360 no-scoped a flying lizard with a camping axe while riding a bicycle. Our boy just taps his delivery badge and lies straight to their faces. He claims his only awakened skill is driving and he has not even had a chance to use it yet. The guys totally buy the humble act. Our boy pivots the conversation and asks if there are any other humans left breathing in this zip code. The older dude sighs and drops a heavy lore dump. He explains that a bunch of people tried to hole up in a nearby warehouse, but it basically turned into an all-you-can-eat buffet for the local monsters. Most of the survivors got absolutely shredded or turned into midnight snacks. Hearing this gets the gears turning in our delivery guy's head. He does not care about their snacks or a place to crash, but he desperately needs a working car and some solid intel. The older guy offers him a spot in their super-safe fourth-floor basement refuge. Our boy squints at them. He definitely does not trust these randoms yet, but the promise of a sweet ride is too good to pass up. He puts on a fake smile and accepts the invite while the guys practically worship the ground he walks on. As they start walking away, our boy glances back at the dead wyvern. With a quiet pop, a glowing mana stone shoots out of the corpse and flies straight into his invisible inventory. He smirks to himself, knowing these guys have absolutely no idea how overpowered his subspace abilities actually are. He figures tagging along with them will be a total walk in the park. But as they arrive at the basement refuge, he is immediately greeted by the sight of a massive dead orc with a blade shoved straight through its skull. So much for a safe zone. Our boy thinks this little basement hideout is going to be a chill, safe haven, but the second he walks in, he is greeted by a dude who looks like he eats nails for breakfast. This absolute unit is just standing over a fresh orc corpse with a spear shoved straight through its skull. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Our guy takes one look at this blood-soaked survivor and immediately starts sweating bullets. He gulps hard and realizes this place might actually be way more dangerous than the monster-infested wasteland outside. Down in the basement refuge, things are looking a little less like a sanctuary and a lot more like a boss room. The local alpha male is currently using a massive dead orc as a bloody footstool. One of the guys runs up in a panic asking if everyone is okay. The spear-wielding leader just hits him with a deadpan stare. Yeah, buddy, the giant monster with a polearm through its brain is definitely not okay. Our boy is sweating bullets right now. He specifically remembers being told this place was a monster-free safe zone, so the fresh corpse on the floor is a massive red flag. But before he can complain to management, the guy he rescued earlier decides to become his personal hype man. He points right at our boy and loudly announces to the entire room that this absolute unit just one-shotted a flying wyvern with a camping axe. The crowd immediately starts whispering in disbelief. Our boy hates being the center of attention. While he is busy having a minor panic attack over his blown cover, a mysterious hand sneaks up right behind him. Suddenly, someone snatches our boy's hand. It is an overly enthusiastic worker who is practically vibrating with gratitude because he just saved her coworkers. She asks how they can ever repay him. He tries to wave it off and play humble, but she immediately shoots her shot and asks if he is single. The rest of the crew just laughs at her zero chill while our guy stands there completely flustered. She explains that the guys he saved are basically family to them. Then the older scarred guy steps up. He introduces himself as the manager of the shipping terminal and gives a deep, respectful bow to thank him for the clutch rescue. The manager offers our boy a sweet deal. They have plenty of food and water saved up from the warehouse so he can finally eat a proper meal. He brags that they can always just grab more supplies from the building if they run low. But one of the other workers in the back starts sweating and hesitating to speak up. The guy finally drops the bomb and tells everyone that the warehouse has completely disappeared without a single trace. The manager is absolutely stunned. The worker confirms that the massive building literally just vanished into thin air. The whole group starts panicking and murmuring in disbelief because giant concrete buildings do not just get up and walk away. Little do they know our boy literally pocketed the entire facility. The scarred leader sighs. With the city totally overrun by monsters, a missing warehouse is just another Tuesday. He rallies the troops. No need to mope around. They are just moving their timeline up a bit. An older woman clenches her fist, totally ready to bounce. Our boy sweats bullets in the background, hoping they keep the spotlight off him. He asks the boss man what the game plan is. The leader lays it out. Every major road is completely blocked off. There is a golf course blocking the north and a collapsed highway to the south. Their only real shot is the west tunnel. But there is a tiny little problem. A whole flock of wyverns decided to turn it into their new nest. Our guy acts appropriately shocked. The boss tells him he does not have to tag along for the suicide mission. He can still probably sneak away on foot or grab a bike. Our boy laughs it off, playing the helpless card perfectly. He says he will hang back since it is too dangerous. But he is super glad they are around. Internally, though, he is analyzing the situation. These seem like decent folks, but he notices they are holding back. Unlike him, who is chilling in his own private pocket dimension, these guys have been fighting for their lives. They mentioned hoarding supplies from the warehouse, but they are keeping the exact numbers a secret. And honestly, he respects the hustle. In an apocalypse, you do not just hand out your inventory list to the new guy. Our boy volunteers to scout the tunnel alone. He is secretly planning to farm the wyverns to upgrade his subspace skills. He remembers checking his system earlier and finding out he can drop his shipping cooldown to 5 seconds for just 5 mana stones. Plus, he unlocked some absolutely busted skills like simultaneous and automatic shipping for 10 stones a pop. He is grinning like a menace, realizing he can just spam deliveries to wipe out the whole nest. He figures he can just stroll up to the tunnel solo since the group is still wary of him, but his lone wolf fantasy gets instantly derailed. The blue vest guy rolls up on a mountain bike and tells him to hop on the back. Our boy is just standing there completely baffled. The guy asks if our boy gets system pop-ups since he supposedly never uses his driving ability. When he says no, the guy gets super tense. Not exactly what you want to hear from your designated driver in the apocalypse. Suddenly, the dude stands up on the pedals and starts absolutely booking it down the ruined streets. He claims standing up helps him see farther ahead, but our boy is just holding on for dear life, realizing this guy is an absolute lunatic. And right on cue, the madman spots a wyvern dead ahead. Our boy is sweating bullets as they speed through the ruined streets like they are in a low-budget Fast and Furious reboot. Suddenly, a red-eyed lizard freak pops up from behind a parked car looking for a midnight snack. But the driver is absolutely not having it. He yells to keep their eyes on the road and casually decapitates the beast with a single clean strike. The severed head goes flying as they stick the landing and keep rolling. A glowing blue mana stone floats right into our guy's lap, leaving him completely stunned. But the victory lap is cut short when they suddenly slam on the brakes in the middle of the street. A massive shadow looms over them and the driver starts sweating buckets. They look around and realize they just rode straight into the worst neighborhood possible. A whole squad of wyverns has them completely surrounded, and the driver immediately declares that they are dead meat. The monsters screech and close in for the kill. The older guy completely gives up hope, realizing that even their sweet electric bike cannot outrun a gang of hungry flying reptiles. The giant lizard is literally drooling over its next meal, and the older guy is shaking in his boots. He is fully convinced this is the end of the line. But our boy realizes he cannot play the helpless newbie anymore. He pulls up his system interface and cashes in 10 of his hard-earned mana stones to unlock a new skill. He then dumps his last 5 stones to completely nuke his cooldown timer. The wyverns screech and dive bomb straight for them. The older guy freezes up as a massive set of jaws snaps shut right behind him. He is staring death right in the face. Suddenly, a massive blast of blue energy completely vaporizes the monster. The older guy ducks for cover as the shockwave nearly blows him off his bike. He cautiously peeks up to see our boy standing casually in front of him, and right behind him is a massive glowing portal leading straight into his fully automated subspace warehouse. The secret is officially out. Our boy decides it is time to stop playing nice. He feeds a hard-earned mana stone to the system. The subspace cooldown instantly drops from 25 seconds down to a breezy 5. The system chimes in that he needs to level up his subspace to drop it any lower, but 5 seconds is plenty for what he has planned. A sleek drone hovers overhead as a massive portal rips open right in the middle of the wasteland. The older cyclist is absolutely baffled by the giant, pristine logistics center sitting inside the glowing ring. Our boy whips out his gear and tells the old man to stick close if he wants to make it out of this alive. But there is no time for a guided tour. The old man screams in terror as a massive wyvern dive bombs them from the dark sky. Our boy does not even flinch. He just casually chucks a camping axe straight into the overgrown lizard's face. That just pisses off the rest of the flock. The remaining wyverns screech and charge the glowing portal. Our boy throws up a hexagonal energy shield just in time to block the massive snapping jaws. The impact is so heavy it sends the old man flying backward onto the pavement. Just as the overgrown lizard swoops in for a snack, our boy throws his hand out and summons a glowing blue barrier. The wyvern slams face first into the subspace portal and screeches in absolute agony. His new cyclist buddy screams out in sheer panic, completely expecting them to become monster chow. But instead of getting eaten, the beast bounces off the energy shield like a cheap rubber toy and gets sent flying backward in a spray of blood. The older guy is left staring in absolute shock. His jaw is practically on the floor as he watches our protagonist casually step forward like he didn't just parry a literal dragon. He realizes right then and there that this kid's ability is completely broken. Looking up at the shadowed silhouette of our boy, the cyclist has a massive epiphany. He knows for an absolute fact that these flying reptiles are not even a slight problem for someone with this kind of ridiculous cheat skill. The older cyclist realizes our boy is built different. While normal survivors need a truck to haul food and stay alive, our guy just needs a ride so his legs do not get tired. The cyclist is straight up jealous. If he had that kind of juice, he could blast his way back to his own family in no time. Before he can ask where our boy is even headed, the giant flying lizard screeches and actually dips. Turns out the overgrown pigeon has some survival instincts and realizes it is completely outmatched. The cyclist sighs, wishing he had enough mana stones to upgrade his own skills. Speaking of loot, the older guy spots a glowing blue rock on the asphalt. Our boy casually explains it is a mana stone used to level up abilities. The cyclist is mind blown. He finally connects the dots on why our guy ignored the drops from the lower level mobs earlier. The cyclist jokes that with an automated drone firing axes like a machine gun, our boy could probably solo the entire block tunnel. But when our guy just gives him a nervous, sweaty smile, the older dude freezes. He realizes it was not a joke at all. Our boy is internally panicking because he only meant to scout the area and secretly clear the path, not drop a massive flex on a random survivor. The cyclist immediately bows and apologizes for dragging him into this mess, but our guy brushes it off. He admits he would have been completely lost without a guide anyway. Our boy decides it is time to dip before the giant flying lizard comes back for round 2. The driver is still processing the absolute carry job he just witnessed, but asks how far our guy actually needs to go. Turns out the ultimate destination is Ujeongbu with a pit stop in Gangnam to find his family. The driver's eyes light up like he just pulled an SSR unit. His own base is in Indokwon, which is right on the way to Gangnam. He shoots his shot and asks if they can party up. Our boy pauses, completely caught off guard by the sudden co-op request. The driver lays out his resume. He admits his only awakened skill is driving, which is great for dodging traffic, but absolutely useless when a monster wants to turn his sedan into a chew toy. He promises to be the ultimate support main, offering top-tier chauffeur services and free food if our guy just handles the DPS. Our boy runs the numbers and realizes this is actually a massive brain play. Having a dedicated driver means he can keep his overpowered subspace inventory a secret from the rest of the server. If the other survivors find out he is basically a walking Amazon warehouse, they might try to jump him for his loot, and he really does not want to catch a body today. Plus, the driver already proved he is a real one by risking his neck to scout the tunnel earlier. Our guy gives the green light and tells him to start the engine. The driver lights up with pure joy knowing he just secured the ultimate VIP escort mission. Our boy pulls the cyclist aside and lays down the ground rules. He wants to solo the tunnel so nobody gets in his way, and more importantly, so nobody sees his broken subspace powers. He asks his new buddy to smooth talk the crowd and secure him a solo run. The cyclist confidently taps his chest and promises he has the charisma to make it happen. Cut to exactly 5 seconds later, and this absolute boomer is screaming to the entire basement that our guy is going to use his super secret awakened ability to clear the tunnel all by himself. He literally tells them not to be curious about the secret power he just loudly announced. Our boy is standing there completely flabbergasted. The survivors start whispering among themselves because sending one dude to solo a monster nest sounds like pure cap. Our guy is sweating bullets, realizing his hype man just made him look like a massive scam artist. The scarred leader steps up to the plate looking like he is about to throw hands. Knowing he is already in too deep, our boy decides to just double down and fake it till he makes it. He boldly declares he will have the entire tunnel cleared out by tomorrow morning so they can all escape. He knows they are starving and desperate, so a quick extraction is his only bargaining chip. The leader calls his name and our guy braces for impact. But instead of interrogating him, the scarred boss actually respects the hustle. He promises not to pry into his abilities, assuming our boy is just trying to keep them out of the crossfire. To sweeten the deal, the survivors bring out a massive cardboard box packed with their precious canned food and water rations to fuel his solo raid. The suit steps up and offers our boy a stash of their reserved food. The whole crew literally bows down to him, apologizing that canned beans are all they can offer the guy risking his life to clear the tunnel. Our boy starts sweating bullets. He only agreed to do this because he needs the tunnel cleared for himself, so the hero worship is hitting a little too hard. He tries to push the rations back, telling them to save it for their own families, But the suit guy hits him with the ultimate guilt trip, grabbing his shoulder and reminding him that he has a family to get back to as well. Rejecting their sacrifice now would just be rude. Our boy thinks about his own folks and finally caves. Seeing the mood get a little too heavy, the scarred leader decides it is time to break out the good stuff. They pop open their hidden stash of booze and raise their glasses. It is not a full-blown frat party, but they pour just enough liquid courage to toast to a safe arrival and surviving to see their families tomorrow. Fast forward to the next morning, and playtime is officially over. Our boy grips his trusty camping axe and mounts his electric steed. He tells the peanut gallery to head back inside where it is safe. The survivors watch him with absolute dread, probably wondering how a guy on a bicycle is going to solo a tunnel full of flying dinosaurs. But our boy just slams his foot on the pedal and rides out to handle business. Our boy hops on his electric bike and pedals down the cracked highway straight toward the tunnel of doom. He leaves the anxious crowd in his dust. With a look of pure resolve, he promises he will be back. Our boy pedals his way right up to the tunnel entrance and hits the brakes. Inside, it is an absolute nightmare of screeching wyverns just waiting to tear him apart, but instead of turning tail, he just stares them down with the most deadpan expression imaginable. His mind suddenly drifts back to the good old days. You know, the ones where he was a bruised-up little menace constantly throwing hands with his sister. Their poor dad is stuck playing referee, begging them to chill out. He hits them with the classic dad smile while they are literally ripping each other's hair out. He drops some heavy wisdom about how he always wanted siblings and that one day they will realize how precious family truly is. But before he can finish his TED Talk, a wild ladle appears. Mom sneaks up from behind and absolutely roasts him for giving life lessons instead of helping her prep dinner while the kids just sit there watching the chaos unfold. The flashback wraps up with his mom pulling up with a literal ladle to roast his dad for giving a TED Talk instead of making dinner. Young Jonghyun just smiles through the black eye, realizing that despite the chaos, family is everything. Cut back to the present, and our boy is looking soft just thinking about them. The mood in the parking lot is a whole lot heavier, though. One of the terminal workers is absolutely going through it. He chugs a bottle and sobs about how much he misses his son. The rest of the crew tries to calm him down while our guy just watches quietly. Fast forward a few hours and the moon is out. The whole squad is passed out on the concrete, snoring like chainsaws. One of the vest guys wakes up for a midnight bathroom run and realizes our boy is nowhere to be found. He asks around and finds out the kid just went to get some fresh air. He wanders out into the makeshift truck depot and glances around the massive rigs until he spots some movement. He catches our boy casually closing up the back of a cargo truck. The guy asks if the floor was too hard to sleep on, but then he peeks past him and his jaw hits the pavement. He realizes this absolute madman just spent the entire night single-handedly loading up 15 massive trucks with supplies. Our boy is up late doing some heavy lifting. The blue vest guy wanders out and gets the shock of his life when he peeks into one of the delivery trucks. It is packed with premium apocalypse survival gear and a brand new bike. Our guy casually drops that he kept the load light so the suspension would not snap. The survivor is absolutely losing his mind, realizing our boy just solo-packed 15 massive trucks while everyone else was snoring. As he slams the door shut, the survivor starts sweating bullets. He knows our guy has a magic warehouse, but handing out this much free loot is just an insane flex. He cannot wrap his head around this level of charity. Cut to the main event in the tunnel. Our boy is literally just standing there letting his subspace barrier do all the work. A whole flock of ugly flying lizards just faceplants right into his invisible wall. It is an absolute meat grinder, and he does not even have to break a sweat. He just crosses his arms and watches them splatter. Looking completely unbothered, he wonders if he can just stash the other survivors inside his dimension for safekeeping. The system hits him with a hard rejection. His subspace is only level 1 and he needs 100 mana stones to upgrade it. He checks the tunnel inventory and realizes there are only about 40 wyverns left. That is nowhere near enough to hit his quota and level up. Our boy checks his system stats and realizes he is a little short on XP. He needs more mana stones to level up his subspace dimension, but these overgrown bats are already running for the hills. Just as he starts complaining about the lack of loot, a massive shadow drops from the ceiling. It is a supersized wyvern with glowing red eyes looking like a Dark Souls boss that just wandered into the wrong neighborhood. Our guy just stares at it, completely unbothered. Meanwhile, outside the tunnel, the delivery crew is sweating bullets. They are waiting for the inevitable sound of their new friend getting turned into monster chow. But instead of a gruesome death, they hear the gentle rattle of a bicycle chain. Our protagonist rolls out of the darkness looking like he just took a swim in a blender. He is absolutely drenched in monster blood from head to toe. The survivors collectively gulp as this absolute psycho just smiles at them like he just finished a light morning jog. He casually pedals up to the group, ready to hand over the keys to a newly cleared highway. The workers absolutely lose their minds cheering as our boy rolls out of the dark tunnel looking like he just took a bath in a meat grinder. The terminal manager gathers the surviving crew for a heartfelt goodbye, wishing everyone a safe trip back to their families. The workers thank him for keeping them alive this long, and the old man hits them with a warm, proud smile. But our bloody cyclist casually scratches his head and tells them to check the cargo trucks because he left them a little parting gift. The manager and the crew just stare at him in absolute confusion, wondering what this absolute madman could have possibly stuffed in the back. With spirits high and the death trap finally clear, the convoy hits the road. The drivers hype themselves up to finally see their families again, navigating the ruined highway and waving their goodbyes as the trucks split off toward their different destinations. Meanwhile, our boy is chilling in the passenger seat, completely zoned out. He is not thinking about the emotional farewells at all. He is hyper-fixated on that massive glowing red wyvern he spotted back in the tunnel. It was way bigger than the rest of the flying lizards, leaving him wondering if he just locked eyes with the area boss or some kind of mutant host. Cruising through the apocalyptic wasteland, our boy hears a sickening crunch under the tires. Turns out they just rolled over a dead soldier. The driver looks grim, but there is simply no avoiding the carnage. The streets are an absolute mess of flipped cars, monsters, and rotting corpses. Our boy realizes that if he had not been discharged from the military a few months ago, he would probably be Wyvern Chow right now. The truck screeches to a halt in front of a massive barbed wire barricade. The army definitely set this up to keep something out, and the driver immediately suggests finding another bridge. But our boy spots a pack of giant red-eyed wolf monsters roaming the street. While the driver panics and tries to turn the truck around, our boy is already doing the math on how much XP he can farm from these good boys to level up his subspace. Our boy glances out the window just as the truck screeches to a halt. The road ahead is completely blocked off by a massive barbed wire fence and a nasty pileup of wrecked cars. But instead of backing down, he spots a tiny little sidewalk path hugging the edge of the bridge. He points it out to the older driver and asks if their massive rig can actually squeeze through there. The driver sweats a little but admits it is technically possible. That is all the confirmation our guy needs. He grabs the handle and stands up with an absolutely unhinged grin on his face. He tells the driver he just thought of a brilliant idea to get past this mess. Our boy points out their next destination, but his driver is sweating bullets, and for good reason. Outside the truck, a massive muscle-bound freak is running for its life. A whole pack of demonic red hounds swarms the giant and absolutely shreds it to pieces. These mutts are not playing around and they are hungry for fresh meat. The duo rolls right past the bloody buffet. The driver grips the wheel like his life depends on it because it literally does. He is absolutely terrified. He asks our guy if they are seriously crossing this bridge. Our boy is completely chill and says it is way easier than it looks. He asks the driver if he remembers that old classic space strategy game with the 3 alien races. You know the one. He explains his favorite custom map was a tower defense mode where you use the terrain to bottleneck a massive swarm of enemies. The driver is just staring at him like he grew a second head. But our boy already has the perfect choke point picked out. He tells his personal chauffeur to throw it in reverse and back the truck up to a narrow spot on the bridge. The massive vehicle perfectly blocks the path. Down below, the hellhounds are still enjoying their giant monster mukbang. Meanwhile, our boy pulls up his holographic system menu. He taps the screen and smirks. He finally gets to test out a brand new feature for exactly this kind of pest control. Our boy decides it is time to automate the grind. He drops 10 magic stones to unlock the auto ship feature. Then he tells his AI buddy Pax to dump the rest of his points into pure strength. 5 more stones down the drain and his shipping speed gets buffed to a casual 100 kilometers an hour. With his subspace portal glowing behind him like a halo, he looks down at the pack of red monster hounds. He taunts the ugly mutts to come get a taste. The pack immediately takes the bait and charges straight down the street toward him. But instead of throwing his usual camping axes, he opens the system shop and buys a massive 830-liter double-door refrigerator. The giant appliance drops straight out of the sky like a meteor. It slams into the pavement and instantly flattens the charging hounds. The system immediately chimes in to let him know he just scored 12 fresh magic stones. He crosses his arms with a smug grin. He realizes this new strategy is absolutely broken. He explains that even though he upgraded his precision delivery while clearing out the tunnel earlier, the tracking system is not perfect. It only slightly adjusts to moving targets. These monster hounds are way too fast and agile. Even with his axes flying at 100 kilometers an hour, the ones in the back could easily dodge them. Plus his shipping cooldown is stuck at 2.5 seconds. So why bother aiming when you can just drop a massive area of effect attack? Another heavy-duty refrigerator launches out of the portal and completely obliterates the next wave of hounds. The sheer weight of the appliances turns the monsters into absolute paste before they even know what hit them. Our boy watches the carnage unfold. He notes that his newly enhanced auto-ship feature is making this whole apocalypse thing way too convenient. He stretches his arms and decides he does not even need to supervise the slaughter anymore. Meanwhile, the remaining hounds are still growling. They are completely unaware that a massive double-door fridge is hurtling right toward their faces. From the driver's seat, the older cyclist watches the chaos in the side mirror. He is absolutely flabbergasted. He thought our guy could only throw axes, but now he is launching heavy appliances like it is nothing. He watches the fridges crush the monsters and wonders how a logistics center could possibly have this many in stock. He questions if the retrieved items are somehow being recycled as brand new products. Suddenly, our boy pops his head into the cab. He casually asks if the driver wants a snack. The older guy is still reeling. He is internally screaming about whether this kid's inventory is actually infinite. Our boy plays dumb and asks if he did not know. The driver admits he thought the axes were being retrieved to reload. Our guy casually explains he only picks them up so they do not pop the truck tires. The driver presses him again on the infinite stock thing. Our boy just deflects and asks what he wants to eat. Defeated, the driver just asks for a Coke Zero and a donut as they finally peel out of there. The driver admits he feels a bit guilty. He doesn't even know our boy's actual powers, but he is still happily munching on the free food. Our guy just flashes a warm smile and tells him not to sweat it. He is just grateful for the trust and reminds the driver that his magic pocket dimension is fully stocked with whatever he needs. The driver thanks him for clearing out the monster trash. Now that the road is open, he is only an hour away from his house. Our boy is hyped for him to reunite with his family. The driver just prays they are safe and tells our guy to watch his own back out there. Hearing that genuine concern hits our protagonist right in the feels. But then our boy points out a tiny problem. The driver is currently covered in monster guts and grime. He cannot exactly roll up to his family looking like an extra from a zombie flick. He offers to hook him up with a fresh fit from his infinite inventory and asks what kind of style he rocks. The driver chuckles at the VIP wardrobe service but doubts our guy has his specific aesthetic. Challenge accepted. 2 seconds later, the driver is absolutely dripped out in a leather jacket and aviator shades looking like a post-apocalyptic action star. Feeling himself in the new gear, the driver declares the area secure and decides it is time to punch it. He slams his foot on the gas pedal and sends the massive truck rocketing forward while our boy clings to the window for dear life. The older cyclist takes the wheel and absolutely floors it. He shifts gears like he is auditioning for Tokyo Drift. He tells our boy to hold on tight because this express delivery is only going to take 20 minutes. The truck blasts through the ruined city streets at breakneck speeds. Our guy is left clinging to the seat for dear life while the truck turns into a literal battering ram. But our overpowered protagonist is not built for this kind of ride. He looks absolutely green. He begs his new driver to slow down before he loses his lunch all over the dashboard. The older guy just calmly slides off his aviators like an absolute boss and announces they have already reached their destination. They pull up to a heavily damaged brick apartment building. It looks like the family reunion might be a bit rocky. They finally pull up to the apartment complex. The building is definitely looking a little worse for wear, but our boy notes a massive green flag. There are 0 bodies lying around, which is a huge step up from the absolute meat grinder they just drove through. The older driver reaches for the digital lock, but his hand is shaking like a leaf. He spent the last 20 minutes driving like an absolute maniac to get here in record time, but now that he is actually at the finish line, he is completely frozen. Our delivery guy watches him struggle and instantly connects the dots. If the guy opens that door and finds his family, it will completely break him. Giving him a solid tap on the shoulder, our boy offers some silent support and the sweating driver gives a nervous nod. Stepping up to the plate, our protagonist decides to take the burden off the guy's shoulders. He knows nobody wants to be the one to confirm their own family's death. If he was in the driver's shoes, he would definitely want someone else to rip the band-aid off and face that terrifying reality for him. Our boy decides to just rip the band-aid off. He tells the terrified driver he is pressing the code and reaches for the handle. The older guy looks like he is about to pass out from the anxiety as the door finally clicks open. Both men completely freeze in shock at what is on the other side. Standing right there in the doorway are the driver's wife and little girl. The kid immediately screams for her dad while the wife chokes back a sob. The driver instantly breaks down into ugly tears and darts forward to wrap his family in a massive bear hug. Our delivery guy just watches from the sidelines with a gentle smile. It is a rare, wholesome moment in this apocalyptic hellscape. The weeping father asks how they even knew it was him at the door. His wife just buries her face in his shoulder and cries about how glad she is that he is safe while he tenderly squeezes his sobbing daughter. Feeling like a third wheel, our boy turns to give them some space, but suddenly the happy family glitches out and fades into thin air. It was all a complete illusion. Reality hits like a truck as our protagonist suddenly collapses hard onto the floor. Our boy blinks as his vision fades to black. A blurry guy in a uniform screams his name, begging him to hold on, but the exhaustion finally takes over. He slips into a deep flashback, waking up next to a guy in a sharp suit at a funeral. The suit guy drops some heavy wisdom, telling our boy that goodbyes are not always a total bummer. They bring up a whole mix of emotions like love, regret, and gratitude. Little Jonghyun tilts his head, completely lost on the concept of gratitude and unconditional devotion. He stares blankly, trying to process these big adult words. Cut to a core memory where his sister absolutely rocks his world with a pillow. He hits the deck hard and immediately starts bawling his eyes out. His sister just sighs at the dramatic display before raising her weapon in victory, successfully defending her heavyweight title against her crybaby brother. The mom is ready to crack some skulls with a soup ladle. The dad is completely slacking on dinner prep while the kids are literally brawling in the background. He just laughs it off like a total goofball. They finally settle down around the table for some hot stew. The mom tries to tease the oldest sister about being on her phone and having a secret crush. She shuts that down real quick and reminds everyone she is way too mature for that now that she is in junior high. The whole squad is glued to a brutal boxing match on TV. The dad tells the younger sister she should totally join the boxing club next year. She gives a wicked smirk and agrees on the spot. Our boy just sits there sporting a fresh black eye and quietly rethinking his life choices. Time skip to the first day of school. Our boy struts up the street in his uniform. He is looking fresh and ready to take on the world. He notices all the other kids flexing their sparkling brand new threads. He looks down at his own hand-me-down shabby suit. Honestly, he does not even care and is just happy to finally be there. Our boy is just thrilled to finally rock a school uniform, but his main character moment gets instantly cancelled when the local bullies rock his jaw instead. They jump him in an alley and start stomping him out like a discarded receipt while his buddy just stands there buffering. One of the goons winds up for a heavy haymaker, but his fist gets snatched out of the air. Enter the tracksuit-wearing sister. She locks onto his wrist with an absolute death grip, hitting the bully with a stare so cold it could freeze hell. She looks down at her bruised brother, calls him straight-up pathetic, and instantly drafts him into her personal boot camp. Cut to our boy fighting for his absolute life on a cardio run while his sister smiles like a total menace right behind him. But the grueling training actually pays off. He gets a major glow-up and starts walking the halls with some actual confidence. Then he gets a text confirming his admission to a nursing college, and his entire family is absolutely flabbergasted that he actually pulled it off. Fast forward a few years and our boy is absolutely shredded. He is just minding his own business at the computer when he gets handed a fateful envelope. He rips it open and completely freezes. Yep, that is the dreaded notice of conscription. Time to serve the country. Cut to drop-off day at the military base. His family is waving him off and his mom is already a crying mess. Our guy tries to play it cool with a fresh buzz cut, giving them a casual wave like it is no big deal. He turns his back and marches in with the rest of the recruits while his family yells for him to eat and sleep well. He grits his teeth trying to hold it together, but the tough guy act instantly crumbles. He is absolutely bawling his eyes out before he even makes it through the gates. The memory fades out and our boy suddenly flutters his eyes open. He blinks at the ceiling completely disoriented and realizes he is laying in a strange bed. Our boy suddenly jolts awake in a cold sweat. He blinks a few times trying to figure out where the hell he is and if his body just gave out on him. The last thing he remembers is the older driver crying over his family reunion. After that, his memory is completely blank. Not taking any chances, he immediately summons a weapon from his subspace and drops into a defensive crouch. But when he looks up ready to fight for his life, he just finds a woman and a little girl casually eating breakfast. They stare back at this random armed dude crouching in their kitchen with absolute confusion. Our boy snaps awake on a floor mattress with his trusty axe in hand ready to swing. But instead of monsters, he just finds a woman and a little girl casually munching on breakfast. Talk about a weird morning after. He whips around at a sudden noise only to find his driver buddy knocked out cold under a blanket. The wife chimes in to explain that our guy just randomly collapsed and fell into such a deep sleep that she did not even want to bother waking him up. Still on high alert, he grips his weapon and quickly tests his subspace powers. A glowing blue orb pops up with a mini axe inside, confirming his cheat skills are still fully operational. He finally relaxes a bit and takes in the situation. The wife hits him with a warm smile and a deep bow. She pours out the gratitude, thanking him for keeping her husband alive and giving their family a second chance. Our humble king tries to play it cool, saying he barely did anything compared to the help he got in return. Right on cue, the sleepy driver sits up and doubles down on the praise. He straight up tells our boy that he saved his life. The wife then slides over with a fresh bowl of food, mentioning that her husband absolutely refused to eat a single bite until his savior woke up. The guy flashes a wholesome smile and tells him to dig in. Our boy happily agrees to grab some grub, but when the pot hits the table, his jaw drops. It is a boiling pot of conger eel stew. He starts sweating bullets at the sheer luxury of this apocalyptic feast. The wife humbly apologizes for not having better ingredients to treat him with. She and the little girl bow respectfully and dip out of the room so the guys can eat in peace. He thinks they are doing way too much by leaving, but he is definitely not letting this food go cold. He scoops up a spoonful of the hot stew and takes a bite. Instantly, he gets hit with a blinding flash of culinary enlightenment. His eyes go wide as the flavor absolutely roundhouse kicks his taste buds. We are talking a full-blown anime food reaction. He is overwhelmed by a bright sensation as the flavors unfold on his tongue. He marvels at the perfect balance of sweet oily kimchi and clean savory fish. In this ruined wasteland, this glowing bowl of stew feels like a warm, cozy hug. Our boy sets his spoon down after absolutely demolishing that bowl of stew. He admits to himself that it is straight up the best meal he has had since leaving the military. It even rivals his own mother's cooking. The older guy breaks the silence and asks if his destination is still Gangnam. Before our guy can even answer, the dude drops a bombshell and offers to drive him there himself. Our boy is completely stunned, but the driver explains that he already talked it over with his wife. She basically told him he would be a massive jerk if he just abandoned the guy who saved them to go find his own family alone. But our protagonist hesitates. He points out that Gangnam is just a pit stop and his final destination is actually way further north in Ujeongbu. He is going to need a ride for a lot longer than just one city over. The driver nods and says he totally understands, which is exactly why he has a specific condition for this little road trip. They step outside into the sunset to hash out the details next to a massive cargo truck. Our boy clarifies the terms. They will ride together to Gangnam in the truck, and once they arrive, the driver will head back home on an electric bicycle. The only catch is that our guy has to spawn the bike from his magic inventory when the time comes. The driver sheepishly rubs his neck and promises to get him there as fast as humanly possible. Our boy touches the side of the truck and admits he understands the plan, but he still has some major reservations about letting this guy risk his neck again. Our boy is genuinely baffled. Why is this guy offering to be his personal Uber driver? He points out that once the older guy drops off the food and supplies to his family, there is literally zero reason for him to risk his neck out in the monster-infested wasteland again. He lets out a heavy sigh because the math is just not mathing. The guy literally fought tooth and nail to get back to his wife and kid. So why is he volunteering for a suicide road trip to Gangnam just to help a guy he barely knows? The older guy just scratches his head and hits him with the Uno reverse card. He asks why our boy saved him in the first place. He drops a warm smile and admits he would be totally dead right now if it was not for that rescue, leaving our boy completely speechless. The driver explains he is just trying to pay back the massive favor as best as he can. Plus, he knows our boy is stuck in the exact same hellish situation trying to find his own family. Game recognizes game and apocalyptic trauma recognizes apocalyptic trauma. The driver pitches a classic apocalypse team-up. He scratches his head and admits he knows he is not exactly the heavy hitter in this duo, but figures they are way better off watching each other's backs. Our boy pictures the alternative. He could just wave goodbye and ride off solo, leaving the guy to fend for himself. He knows exactly how rough it is out there alone, scavenging for busted cars, leaving keys behind when the engines are dead, and pedaling a bicycle through a ruined wasteland filled with monsters. But then a soft smile hits his face. Having a dedicated getaway driver does not sound too bad. The older guy starts to backpedal thinking he overstepped, but our boy cuts him off. He lays out the terms. He reminds the driver that his subspace can duplicate supplies endlessly, so food is never an issue. Then he drops his full itinerary. Gangnam, Yeoljiro, Dobonggu, and finally Ujeongbu. He wants the guy to stick with him for the entire grand tour. And to sweeten the pot, he drops a massive bombshell. Once he levels up his subspace, he can actually bring living people inside, meaning the driver's wife and kid can ride out the rest of the apocalypse in absolute safety. Our boy lays out the terms, and the older cyclist is totally on board. He declares he is bringing his wife and kid along for the ride. The guy throws on his shades like he is starring in a blockbuster movie and says they should head out right away. With the deal struck, our protagonist pulls up his system window to cash in his hard-earned loot. He drops a clean 100 magic stones to upgrade his subspace to level 2. The system dings and the upgrade is officially locked in. But the fine print is a little rough. The daily maintenance cost jumps from 1 stone to 6, which makes him sweat a little bit. On the bright side, the capacity expands to hold 20 people. He also gets a new storage skill and a notification about more enhancements, but he decides to put a pin in that for now. Right on cue, the system flags an external presence trying to enter. It asks for permission to let the cyclist and his family inside. Our boy gives the green light and a massive glowing portal rips open right in the middle of the warehouse. The family steps through hand in hand, completely mind-blown by the sheer scale of his infinite storage facility. The family steps through the portal and their jaws instantly hit the floor. They are staring at a massive, endless warehouse that looks like an Amazon fulfillment center on steroids. Our boy introduces them to Pax, the little AI robot helper that runs the place. He tells them they have full access to the fresh food center for any ingredients they want. The wife is super hesitant, asking if they can really just use all these precious supplies for free. That is when he drops the ultimate flex. He casually mentions that literally everything in this space can be infinitely duplicated, so they can go wild without asking. The wife is absolutely stunned. With the tour wrapped up, the driver happily scoops up his daughter to play princess, while our guy excuses himself to go whip up some snacks. But he is not just here to play host. He pulls up his system window to check out his shiny new abilities. For 50 magic stones, he can unlock a brand new subspace lab, a feature that lets him combine and transform registered items right inside his dimension. Things are about to get crazy. Our boy takes a second to review his stats. Originally, his subspace was just a level 1 skill that let him store a single object and use it as an impenetrable barrier against ugly gray orcs. But after accidentally swallowing the entire PAX logistics center, his system merged with the facility's AI. That little software update gave him the shipment skill, allowing him to yeet heavy objects at 100 kilometers an hour. Honestly, the base ability was already broken, but with his new AI buddy, it is straight up cheating. Suddenly, a system ping pops up. Thanks to his recent upgrade, his storage capacity just jumped from 1 to 15. Our guy is absolutely flabbergasted, realizing he can hoard way more than just a single massive warehouse. He checks the unlockable perks and spots a subspace lab for 50 mana stones. It apparently lets him combine and transform registered items like some kind of apocalyptic Minecraft crafting table. He is itching to test out all these shiny new features, but unfortunately his wallet is completely empty right now. Staring at his 15 open inventory slots, he remembers how he originally bagged the logistics center just by casually blurting out a command. A devious idea pops into his head. If he really can store absolutely anything, he points his crosshair straight down and tries to put the entire freaking earth into his pocket. Our boy decides to test the absolute limits of his newly upgraded subspace. He literally targets the entire freaking earth and hits store. But the system quickly hits him with a big fat error message saying the target is way out of range. He just chuckles to himself, admitting that casually pocketing the whole planet would have been way too broken anyway. Just then, the driver walks up with a map, ready to plan their route to Gangnam. Our guy is a bit confused and asks why he isn't hanging out with his kid. The driver just smiles and points back to his daughter, who is already out cold on a mattress surrounded by toys. He explains that she finally felt safe enough to just crash and get some rest. The driver gets all emotional again, thanking our boy for everything he has done. Our guy humbly brushes it off, saying they are just helping each other out. But as they hop into the truck, the driver gets this super serious look on his face. Our boy immediately starts sweating, wondering why this sudden shift in tone is making him feel so incredibly anxious. The driver throws on his shades and flexes that speed is his only real skill to repay our boy. The protagonist begs him to slow down, but the older guy flat out refuses. This leaves our overpowered hero literally crying in the passenger seat as they hit the gas. The massive truck tears through the apocalyptic wasteland. It kicks up a massive cloud of dust as it zooms past the crumbling city blocks. They hit a rough dirt road on the outskirts of town. The driver points out that it is completely deserted, which means 0 monsters and 0 sketchy survivors to deal with. Our boy just prays this off-road nightmare ends soon so he can stop clinging to the door handle for dear life. But the smooth sailing comes to a screeching halt. The driver spots something up ahead, bathed in the sunset. The entire road is completely blocked off by heavy military barricades and a row of nasty spike strips. Our boy wonders if the actual army is still operating out here. The driver mentions there is a military base nearby, but looking at this sketchy setup, he highly doubts it is the good guys holding the line. Suddenly, their joyride gets cut short by a roadblock. The gear is military, but the guys holding the guns definitely aren't. The driver starts having a full-blown panic attack, so our boy just casually opens a mini portal under the steering wheel and tells him to hop in. He promises he can handle this solo. Watching the armed goons approach, our guy stays perfectly calm. He figures if they wanted him dead, they would have just shot up the cab. The leader of the pack rolls up complaining that the truck didn't hit their spike strips, then orders him to step out and pop the trunk. He plays along and opens the cargo doors, revealing an absolute mountain of canned tuna. The thugs completely lose their minds over the jackpot. The leader asks if he is just some delivery guy and demands to know where he scored all this premium apocalypse loot. Our boy just stares back, already realizing these clowns are just basic raiders looking for a free meal. Our boy plays it cool with the bandits. He casually drops that he scored the loot from a massive logistics center, but the roads are completely busted so they could never find it themselves. He dangles the ultimate bait, claiming this jackpot truckload is just a tiny fraction of his total stash. The bandit leader's eyes immediately light up with pure greed. Suddenly, one of the goons checks the sky and warns the boss that their time is up. The leader immediately orders his men to grab a hood for their new prisoner. Our guy is just standing there confused, wondering what the hell kind of curfew these thugs are running. Before he can even react, a goon steps up and lands a glowing, super-powered gut punch right into his stomach. Our boy coughs up spit and drops to his knees in the dirt, getting completely wrangled by a massive thug. But instead of panicking, he just spits out the blood and flashes a sharp, calculating glare. He totally lets them drag him inside and tie him to a chair in a makeshift office. He takes a quick look around the room, spotting a South Korean flag on the wall, and quickly realizing he has just been dragged into a hijacked military base. Our boy gets dragged into an office and tied to a chair. He takes one look at the blood splattered across the floor and the dead soldier in the corner and instantly connects the dots. These guys aren't the military. They just killed the real soldiers and stole their base. The fake commander sitting at the desk takes a drag of his cigarette and gets right to business. He wants to know exactly where our guy scored a whole truck full of premium apocalypse snacks. When our boy casually drops that he looted the Gunpo Logistics Center, the boss actually praises him for the big brain play, wishing he had thought of that first. Playing dumb to gather intel, our guy asks where exactly he is. The tattooed boss leans back and brags that they are chilling in a military base, but when he tries to name-drop the communications headquarters, he completely fumbles at admitting he actually dodged the draft, so he has no clue what the place is actually called. Classic stolen valor behavior. The fake commander tells him to sit tight because the main event is showing up right at 6 o'clock. Right on cue, a massive ear-piercing screech rattles the entire building. The boss just smirks and announces that their special guest has arrived. Our boy instantly recognizes that screech. He looks out the window and his jaw drops. The sky is absolutely swarming with giant winged wyverns, and there is a massive boss level 1 leading the pack right toward them. Our boy glances out the window and spots an absolute unit of a wyvern flying outside. The tattooed thug leader smirks and admits that the giant lizard is no joke. He claims he thought he was a tough guy but almost got packed up by the beast since his attacks just bounced right off its scales. The boss points his thumb at a bloody soldier slumped against the wall. He explains that the military tried to light up the monster with guns and got completely wiped out. Realizing the military was weak and the monsters were strong, this thug decided it was the perfect opportunity to take over the base. He clarifies he has not actually killed the soldiers yet, they are just slowly bleeding out on the floor. Getting back to business, the boss states that while they have plenty of guns, they are completely out of grub. He orders our boy to head back to the logistics center with his goons tomorrow morning to fetch some groceries. If he does a good job, the boss promises to welcome him into their little post-apocalyptic family. But our boy just drops his head and smiles. He was just wondering what he should store in his newly upgraded subspace inventory, and this military base seems like the perfect fit. The boss asks if he has a death wish, but his threat trails off into pure confusion. In the blink of an eye, our boy literally pockets the entire building, leaving the thug leader sitting in his office chair right in the middle of the dirt. The guards suddenly glance up at the sky, totally confused. The tattooed commander turns around, and his jaw practically hits the floor. The entire military headquarters they were just standing in front of has completely vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, our boy is still tied to a chair and violently throwing up his lunch. He realizes this nasty nausea is a side effect of shoving a massive building into his parallel dimension. He shakes off the dizziness and starts rustling his hands, trying to cut the ropes binding his wrists. But before the guards can even process the missing building, one of them looks up and starts sweating bullets. Reflected in his terrified eyes is a massive flock of winged monsters blotting out the sun. A giant wyvern leads the charge, screeching down from the sky like an absolute nightmare. The guards instantly panic and sprint for their lives, leaving our boy to smash his chair and break free. The tattooed boss barks orders to shoot the monsters down, but quickly realizes he is standing in an empty dirt lot. He curses his men for being absolute cowards right as a massive dragon lands directly behind him. The tattooed commander is sweating bullets right now. A massive dragon drops from the sky and lands right in front of him. Our guy is completely defenseless and staring down a literal boss monster. But the giant lizard does not even care about this tattooed extra. Its glowing yellow eyes lock onto a portal opening up right behind him. The system asks for permission to let an outsider into the parallel dimension. Our boy allows it and drags the bloody soldier through the gate. He is panting hard and feeling super dizzy. Storing an entire military base on a whim definitely comes with some nasty side effects. As he hauls the guy inside, he glances back over his shoulder. The massive beast is glaring right at him. Our boy is genuinely confused why the oversized gecko is giving him the death stare. The monster rears back to roar, but the tattooed commander actually steps up. He starts throwing absolute haymakers at the dragon to distract it. The tattooed commander is left throwing hands with a literal dragon. He screams at the overgrown lizard and curses out his cowardly men who ditched him. But hey, his sacrifice is not totally useless. It buys our boy just enough time to drag the captive soldier through his subspace portal. Our guy glances back just as the dimensional door crunches shut, leaving the commander to his scaly fate. Inside the warehouse, his driver buddy comes sprinting over in a panic. Our boy drops to his knees under the weight of the bloody soldier. He tells his driver that the rogue gang definitely tortured this poor guy for information. The soldier is completely out cold and bleeding everywhere. They quickly get the battered guy onto a bed to rest. He is huffing and puffing like he just ran a marathon, but at least he is safe from the apocalypse outside. But there is a much bigger elephant in the room right now. The driver points out that there should be a whole new building in here since our guy literally swallowed the enemy headquarters. He asks if they can see it from the window, and yeah, they definitely can. A massive towering military base is just chilling inside the subspace, complete with flags waving in the artificial breeze. The driver is absolutely flabbergasted, realizing our boy just casually pocketed an entire army base. His companion is left absolutely flabbergasted as our boy casually mentions he needs to go inspect the massive military base he just yoinked into his subspace. He tells the older guy he will be right back, leaving him staring into the distance and questioning his entire reality. Did this dude really just steal an entire army base? Meanwhile, our protagonist is living his best life, cruising through his newly acquired military compound on a mountain bike. He is already drooling over the endless supply of firearms, ammo, and explosives. It is basically the ultimate apocalypse starter pack. But there is a major catch. Unlike his automated warehouse where his AI buddy packs literally hands him whatever he wants, this base is strictly do-it-yourself. He actually has to manually locate and haul the gear himself, which is a massive buzzkill for our lazy king. Luckily, his companion pedals through the portal to lend a hand, but our boy is already stressing about how long it will take to gather and assemble weapons from scratch. He figures they are going to have to be super conservative with their firepower. That is, until Pax the drone buzzes in with a massive plot twist. The AI reveals that this new dimension is actually formatted exactly like their warehouse. Our boy screeches his bike to a halt, absolutely floored by a massive realization. He looks up at his trusty AI drone and asks the million-dollar question. If this new military sector gets fully cataloged, does that mean he can literally duplicate rifles and ammo just like his warehouse snacks? Can he just infinite glitch military-grade hardware? The little drone hits him with a reality check. It flat out tells him nope, he cannot use the items yet. The system is still processing all that heavy data. Our guy is totally caught off guard by the delay. But the AI offers a sweet compromise, asking what gear he wants bumped to the front of the queue. Our boy immediately lists off the good stuff: firearms, ammo, grenades, and military vehicles. He also makes sure to slap a strict admin lock on all of it. He trusts his driver buddy well enough, but that random soldier he just rescued is a massive wildcard. You can never be too careful in the apocalypse. With his arsenal officially on the way, he decides to peek outside and check the weather. He pops open a portal, only to instantly regret his life choices. The outside world is currently a VIP lounge for giant flying reptiles. He stares out at the scaly, welcoming committee, realizing his quick escape plan is completely chalked, especially since the absolute unit of a boss dragon is staring right back at him, looking ready for a snack. Our boy's driver straps on his tactical gloves and grabs a fresh assault rifle from the newly duplicated loot pile. He jokes that it has been years since his last reserve training, but he is more than ready to join the firing squad today. With boxes of infinite ammo fully loaded and ready to go, the older guy flashes a cocky smirk. He locks eyes on the swarm of wyverns outside the portal and decides these overgrown lizards are volunteering for target practice. He racks the bolt and aims right down the sights with a massive grin. And then he just absolutely unloads on them. Bullets tear through the sky as the driver goes full Rambo, blasting the screeching monsters out of the air one by one. He holds down the trigger and turns the portal entrance into a literal war zone, lighting up the dark sky with a massive barrage of rapid fire. With his gun barrel smoking hot, the driver wipes the sweat from his brow and brags that he has never fired that fast in his entire life. He looks out at the pile of dead wyverns and confidently assumes they just wiped the floor with the whole flock. But our black-haired protagonist is already sweating bullets. He glares out the portal and realizes the real boss fight has not even started yet. The shades-wearing shooter thinks they just wiped the server, but our boy is already sweating bullets. He tells his trigger-happy buddy to take a closer look at the pile of bodies outside. Turns out they didn't just clear the lobby, they rang the dinner bell for the final boss. A massive wyvern with glowing eyes is looming right over their portal, looking absolutely jacked and ready to turn our duo into a light snack. Outside the base, the skies are swarming with giant scaly beasts, but the fog is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. The pilot squints through his shades and admits he cannot see a single thing. He pitches a big brain play to send out a remote-controlled toy as bait to draw the aggro. Our boy is totally on board with the strat. He figures if the bait gets ignored, they can just walk out, but if the boss takes the cheese, they can light it up like a Christmas tree. They tape a couple of RC cars to a literal mannequin and send the plastic dummy rolling out into the mist. It does not take long for the trap to spring. A massive bloody jaw snaps out of the darkness and instantly devours the fake snack. The pilot flinches back in absolute shock, realizing the giant lizard was actually camping them this whole time. A colossal blue dragon rears its ugly head from the shadows and glares down at them with a massive glowing yellow eye. But our boy does not even blink. He immediately raises his newly looted assault rifle and screams at the pilot to open fire. The two of them hold down the triggers and unleash an absolute hurricane of lead into the beast until their gun barrels are literally smoking. The massive dragon lets out an ear-piercing roar, slamming its ugly mug right into our boy's subspace barrier. The pilot and our guy keep their guns trained on the beast, but the monster just keeps screaming through the glowing hexagonal shield. The pilot is sweating bullets, wondering how this overgrown lizard is still standing after eating a full magazine. He assumes its hide is just stupidly thick, but our black-haired protagonist narrows his eyes. He realizes their bullets aren't even making contact. The attacks are being completely blocked by the monster's own energy shield. He suddenly remembers that tattooed thug mentioning something exactly like this earlier. The giant reptile glares at them with its creepy yellow eye and winds up for another massive roar. But right in the middle of its temper tantrum, a couple of little metal pineapples bounce right up to its giant claws. The dragon pauses, looking down at the grenades like a confused puppy. Standing safely behind his portal, our boy flashes a cocky grin. He challenges the beast to a little game of chicken, wanting to see if its magic shield is stronger than their infinite supply of military-grade explosives. The grenades detonate in a massive fiery blast, engulfing the monster. The pilot doesn't even wait for the smoke to clear. He just starts sprinting and chucking even more grenades into the fray, screaming at the lizard to eat hot shrapnel. Our boy and the pilot are absolutely gassed after spamming their entire inventory of explosives. The pilot groans that his shoulder is about to pop out of its socket from pitching all those grenades like a major league closer. But as the smoke clears, our guy looks up and his jaw hits the floor. Two massive glowing eyes pierce through the dust. The giant wyvern is still standing and looking completely unbothered. All those explosions barely even peeled off a single scale. The massive beast just flexes its wings and takes off into the night sky, leaving them in the dust. The pilot wipes the sweat off his brow and mutters that it looks like the overgrown lizard finally decided to dip. But our boy knows better. He points out that the monster definitely didn't retreat because their attacks actually did anything. Cut to them cruising down the ruined streets in a military jeep. Our guy admits he is still totally shook by the sheer size of that thing. He realizes that if dozens of grenades only gave it a paper cut, then standard military gear just is not going to cut it anymore. Our boy realizes that while grenades are cool and all, it is the shrapnel that actually gets the job done. If he just spams bigger bombs, he is going to level the entire city and catch innocent people in the crossfire. Plus, there is no guarantee a single massive explosion will even scratch these boss-tier monsters. So he needs a weapon that hits like a nuke, but keeps the collateral damage to zero. Something like launching a literal 1-ton weight straight into a monster's face. For now, he decides to just keep grinding and upgrading his skills, but when he checks his system interface, he gets a massive shock. He is sitting on a fat stack of 314 magic stones. Our guy is absolutely baffled at how he got so rich so fast. He figures that Giant Wyvern Boss must have dropped a massive loot panada. Since he is practically swimming in cash, he goes on a massive shopping spree. He drops stones to boost his launch speed to 150 kilometers an hour, cuts his prep time down to a single second, doubles his simultaneous launch capacity to 4 items, and extends his range to 50 meters. The mana cost is getting steep, but his subspace ability is officially reaching broken status. With 189 stones still burning a hole in his pocket, he decides to buy one last premium upgrade. He drops 50 stones to unlock the Pocket Dimension Lab. Curious about what this shiny new feature actually does, he tells his driver Yongsu to pull the car over so he can take a quick break and test it out. As they cruise through the ruined city streets nearing Gangnam, the driver tells our boy to go ahead and check out his new upgrades. Our guy is a bit hesitant to leave him alone in a monster-infested wasteland, but the driver insists he needs to pull his weight. The driver points out he can just open his portal right there in the passenger seat and hop in while the car keeps moving. Our boy pops his head through the dimensional rift to make sure the physics check out, and once he confirms he will not get sliced in half, he dips into his personal warehouse. Inside the newly unlocked Pocket Dimension Lab, things look pretty standard at first glance, but then he pulls up the interface and spots 2 crazy new abilities called Combine and Separate. He asks his trusty AI drone if this means he can fuse a rifle and a loaded magazine into one single registered item, and the bot confirms he absolutely can. Our boy immediately asks the real questions. If he registers a live explosive, is it going to blow up his entire inventory? The drone explains that everything in storage exists purely as digital data, meaning no physical reactions happen until the item is actually summoned. Hearing this absolute cheat code of a mechanic, our guy immediately spends 15 magic stones to register a batch of grenades with their safety pins already pulled. He considers registering a fully loaded rifle next, but then his brain expands to galaxy proportions. He stops dead in his tracks as a wicked smile creeps onto his face. With these fusion mechanics, he realizes he does not need to rely on basic military gear anymore. He can literally craft a custom weapon that hits harder than a bomb but without leveling the entire city block in the process. Outside the portal, the driver slams the brakes. He stares in absolute disbelief at a massive barricade of stacked cars completely blocking the street. Our boy pops his head out of the subspace just in time to hear the bad news. The driver points out the obvious, stating that some absolute maniac built a literal wall out of sedans and minivans. The driver figures they have to turn the Jeep around and find another route, but our boy just smirks. He tells him that won't be necessary because he just finished cooking up a brand new weapon in his little pocket dimension. The driver is understandably confused, wondering what kind of military-grade hardware he managed to pull out of thin air. Suddenly, a blue portal opens up and massive cylindrical objects shoot out at breakneck speed, flying right past the Jeep. These heavy projectiles slam directly into the car barricade with the force of a literal freight train. The sheer kinetic impact triggers a massive shockwave, sending the stacked vehicles flying through the air like cheap plastic toys. As the dust settles, the Jeep rolls up to the newly cleared path. The driver sits there completely paralyzed by what he just witnessed. He slowly turns his head to look at the devastating projectile resting on the ground. It is literally just a massive stack of 20-kilogram gym weights fused together. He stares blankly at our boy, asking what on earth he just created. Out in the ruins, 2 guards are pulling the graveyard shift, wondering if their defensive barrier just snapped. Before they can even panic, a pair of blinding headlights cuts through the dust. A military jeep comes screeching to a halt right in front of them. The guards are totally clueless, wondering if the military finally arrived. The window rolls down and our boy pokes his head out, looking fresh as ever, to ask for a specific nurse. Flashback time to when our guy was just a little rugrat. His older sister Juyeon is trying to hit the books, but he and his other sister are busy throwing hands in the background. She snaps at them to keep it down, which completely shocks the kids since she usually has the attention span of a goldfish. They literally think she lost her mind and want to call their mom. Right on cue, mom walks in asking if her daughter is feeling okay. Juyeon plays it cool, saying she just found a brand new dream to chase. And what sparked this sudden academic grind set? A literal children's book about a giving apple tree. We get a quick flashback to our boy's older sister. One day she randomly holds up a children's book and declares she wants to treat sick people. Young Jongyum literally points at her and asks if they need to take her to a doctor. But she is not capping. She grinds her absolute gears off, skyrockets her grades, and actually gets into medical school. The whole family is left completely flabbergasted. Back in the present, his sister is absolutely stunned to see him alive. The waterworks instantly start flowing for both of them. They share a massive tearful reunion hug right in the middle of the ruined street. The pilot just smiles in the background, letting them have their wholesome moment. But then our boy pulls a fast one. He wipes his tears and loudly introduces himself as Yongsu. He gives her a subtle cue to play along so he can keep his real identity under wraps. She immediately starts digging through her pockets to offer him food. He waves her off, claiming they have been stuffing their faces with chocolate bars. He leans in and whispers the real situation to her. He explains that they have a critically injured patient stashed away. She catches on quick. She realizes the patient is hidden in a parallel dimension that only he can access. She looks completely shell-shocked by her little brother's insane new powers. Our boy tells the doc he really does not want the rest of the survivors peeking at his parallel dimension portal. Gotta keep the overpowered skills on the down low. He keeps a straight face while the pilot stands guard in the back. The trio sneaks down the hallway, stepping quietly past some random dude snoring his life away on a bench. They make their way to the lounge where the pilot carefully cracks the door open. Stealth mode activated. The doc is absolutely stunned. Her jaw straight up drops to the floor as she stares into the massive glowing warehouse, completely mind-blown that this absolute unit of a facility is just his personal storage space. They walk up to the makeshift bed where the battered soldier is lying. The doc immediately grabs his bloody hand to check his vitals while our boy and the pilot watch from the sidelines. She asks how long he has been in this state. The poor guy just groans in pain, his uniform completely soaked in blood. She points out he was definitely beaten and tortured pretty badly. Our boy starts sweating bullets, asking the real question here. Is this guy actually going to survive? Our boy and the pilot watch in shock as the doc reaches out and reveals she actually awakened as a healer. Her hands glow with green magic as she gets to work on the battered soldier. She admits her skills are pretty basic right now and it takes forever to fully heal someone, but she manages to stabilize him with some emergency care. Turns out the guy is mostly just starving anyway. When the pilot brings up her past, she instantly gets defensive. But our boy just hits her with the absolute maximum riz. He sparkles like a shoujo protagonist and drops a cheesy line about wanting to treat sick people today. The doc is instantly flustered. With the ice broken, he offers to explain his whole crazy situation over some food. He pulls up his system window and starts breaking down the mechanics of his parallel dimension. He gives her the full rundown, from the logistics drones to his trusty camping axe, and that time he styled on a giant orc in front of a bunch of terrified survivors. But honestly, the doc is barely processing a single word. She is absolutely housing a bowl of spicy pork and rice like she has not eaten in a decade. Our boy realizes he is basically talking to a brick wall while she just aggressively chews her food and nods along. The wife excuses herself to go check on some freshly baked bread in the oven, leaving our boy and his sister to catch up. The doc is absolutely housing a hot meal, barely pausing to breathe as she asks how the wife ended up in this crazy pocket dimension. Our guy casually mentions that since she is safe now, his next stop is Yuljiro to grab the rest of the family. But his sister drops a massive bombshell, flat out refusing to leave. She hits him with the harsh reality that there are over 300 survivors holed up in her hospital, and as a doctor, she cannot just abandon the patients who need constant care. Meanwhile, up in the hospital tower overlooking the ruined city, a shady guy in a lab coat is peeking out the window. He spots our boy's military jeep rolling up and wonders if the special forces have finally arrived to save the day, but his lackey interrupts his train of thought. Enter Songhak Jin, the director of internal medicine and the absolute worst kind of apocalypse boss. He tells his goon not to sweat the new arrivals. This corrupt doc has a foolproof plan to keep all the desperate survivors under his thumb by hoarding and rationing the entire building's food supply. Plus, he has a massive, scarred meathead of an enforcer to crush anyone who complains, smugly betting that nobody out there is stronger than his personal bodyguard. Meanwhile, the hospital's director of internal medicine is busy plotting his next villain arc. He tells his massive scarred enforcer to play nice with the survivors while they admire the giant barricade of stacked cars they just built outside. Back inside, our boy is finally putting the pieces together. He realizes the shady director actually poisoned the survivors with his own ability just to force them onto his side. Now the guy is using them as meat shields to guard the food and mana stones. His sister explains all this while absolutely housing her meal, prompting our guy to politely ask her to swallow before she chokes. She grips her spoon with a glowing aura, declaring her master plan. She wants to secretly farm mana stones to level up her healing abilities and cure the poisoned survivors herself. She turns to her brother for help but immediately snaps at him when he doesn't seem to be taking the extreme danger seriously. But our boy just crosses his arms and smirks. He points out that the evil doctor's entire monopoly relies on controlling the food supply, which means absolutely nothing to a guy with an infinite digital warehouse. He tells her to just sit back, relax, and watch a real pro at work. He decides there is zero time to waste and gets started right away. His sister is left completely confused with a spoon hanging out of her mouth until a massive blue portal opens up on the ceiling. She watches in absolute shock as a literal mountain of ration packs, protein bars, and canned food drops right into the room. Back at the hospital, the corrupt doctor gets a report from his lackey that our boy is just handing out free grub to the starving survivors. The doc waves it off like it is no big deal. He figures these idiots will just burn through their stash trying to play hero and come crawling back to him when their stomachs start rumbling. The lackey stammers out that they really should have hoarded that food because, plot twist, they actually have way more rations than the hospital's entire stockpile. The doc completely short-circuits. He jumps out of his chair demanding to know how the hell that is even mathematically possible. His brain goes into overdrive doing the math. It took a massive truck to haul their current stash, but our guy rolled up in a single military van. The doc starts sweating as he realizes this random dude must have some broken cheat skill, like copying items or shrinking them down like Ant-Man. Realizing his monopoly on the food supply is about to crash hard, he tosses a glowing vial to his minion. He orders him to have their muscle poison the nurse's brother immediately, and if the poison fails, they need to just flat-out flatline him. Plus, he remembers our boy brought a +1 to the party. Meanwhile, our delivery driver is out here doing his best apocalyptic Santa impression. He sneaks into the patient rooms, dropping off cans of food and protein bars right on their pillows. Stepping back out into the dead quiet hallway, he puts his game face on, ready to completely dismantle this doctor's little dictatorship. Back with our boy, his sister is absolutely housing the food he brought. She tells him that the corrupt doctor isn't actually a threat on his own. He just uses the poison survivors as his personal army. And honestly, most of their abilities are complete garbage, like magically resealing soda cans or doing laundry without moving. Our guy figures this rescue mission will be a total cakewalk, but his sister quickly shuts that down. There is one massive exception. Enter Hyun-gu Song. This absolute unit of a man trekked all the way across the scorched wasteland just to check on his hospitalized mother. His sister warns him that this guy is built different. He has super strength and is literally impossible to miss. Right on cue, the hulking giant steps out of the shadows and corners our boy in the hallway. He recognizes him as the nurse's younger brother and politely asks for a quick chat. Our guy keeps his cool, totally unfazed by the walking mountain in front of him. But the giant's polite demeanor drops instantly. He stares down our protagonist with dead eyes and decides that talking is actually a waste of time. Stepping out into the moonlight with glowing red eyes, the massive enforcer backs our boy up against the giant wall of cars he built with his bare hands. He lays down the law, telling our guy he only has two choices tonight. The absolute unit of a man holds up a glowing red vial and gives our boy two options. Drink the sketchy medicine right now or refuse and die on the spot. He strongly suggests not running, but our guy just glances around and casually admits he wasn't planning on doing cardio anyway. Plus, with those tree trunk legs, he knows he would get caught. The giant just stands there looking menacing while our boy stares right back completely unbothered. The big guy decides negotiations are over. He lunges forward and throws a massive haymaker packed with enough force to level a building. But instead of turning our protagonist into paste, the fist slams right into a blue hexagonal energy barrier. Suddenly, a little delivery drone pops up overhead and drops a bright pink bowling ball. The giant looks up just in time to catch a premium 200,001 Extreme Curveball Maestro straight to the chest. The big guy groans as he gets knocked back. Our boy sweats a little and wonders if a 56-mile-per-hour fastball was a bit overkill. Before the giant can recover, the ball ricochets and nails him again right in the gut. He drops to one knee, groaning in pain and demanding to know what kind of broken ability this is. But our guy is already dropping a massive metal pillar right next to him with a deafening boom. The giant looks confused as our boy drops a massive metal pillar right next to him, warning him not to move unless he wants some fresh new fractures. But this absolute unit just catches the falling steel with his bare hands. Our delivery guy can only watch in pure shock as the muscle mountain roars and literally lifts the entire structure like it is a warm-up set. He chucks the massive pillar straight up into the subspace barrier, shattering it to pieces. But the giant's little flex was exactly what our boy wanted. He smugly reveals that the distraction gave him just enough time to prep his real trap, leaving the big guy completely stunned. Before the giant can even react, our boy tells him to be patient as a massive cage of heavy steel pillars crashes down from the sky, completely boxing him in. With the threat neutralized, our guy casually strolls away down the dark corridor. He steps back into the safe room, wiping the sweat off his face and sighing in relief that his crazy plan actually worked. Our boy strolls back inside like he didn't just drop a whole construction site on a guy. His sister calls out to him and he casually points a thumb over his shoulder to show off his handiwork. She peeks out the window and spots the massive glowing monolith he just erected in the parking lot. She whips back around absolutely flabbergasted, demanding to know what the heck just happened out there. He tries to brush it off, saying they just need to grab their driver and dip. But before he can finish his sentence, heavy footsteps echo down the hall. They both turn and gasp. The older cyclist staggers into the room, clutching his head in absolute agony. He is practically glowing with some weird red energy, and the doc instantly recognizes the bad news. Our boy dashes over to catch him before he eats the floor. The poor guy stammers that he was just handing out the food rations like they planned. The doc grabs his hand and zooms in on a tiny prick on his finger. Someone totally hit him with a poison needle while pretending to accept a snack. The doc inspects the older guy's hand and spots a tiny prick mark. Someone totally hit him with a poison needle while pretending to thank him. Our boy immediately opens a portal to his subspace to put him on bed rest. He is stressing out big time. If his driver is poisoned, their whole road trip is chalked. He figures he has to go hunt down the corrupt doctor for an antidote. But as they step through the glowing gate, the system hits them with a massive block notification. It straight up refuses to let any unknown outside energy enter the personal dimension. The group freezes up, but then the older guy blinks. His massive headache is completely gone. Our boy's eyes go wide as he realizes his subspace barrier acts like the ultimate water filter for dark magic. And right on cue, a massive figure steps through the portal. It is the giant muscle guy from earlier. The system grants him entry. Since he just walked through the ultimate detox gate, the mind control is completely wiped from his system, leaving him looking a lot less murderous and a lot more confused. Our boy decides to boot the giant out of his inventory. A quick system prompt pops up, and the massive dude gets unceremoniously dumped onto the floor. He looks completely dazed and confused. The delivery guy finally puts two and two together. His subspace is basically a giant detox chamber. The absolute defense system completely purged the mind control poison from the big guy's system. Now totally free from the doctor's control, the Muscle Mountain rushes straight to his sick mom for a tearful reunion. He gives her a gentle hug and tells her to rest up. He has some serious trash to take out. Turning back to our crew, he looks deeply embarrassed. He apologizes for acting like a rabid attack dog and promises to handle the corrupt doctor himself. He stomps down the hallway with pure murder in his eyes. Our squad just watches him go, probably feeling a little bad for whoever is on the receiving end of that rage. Meanwhile, down in his evil lair, the corrupt doctor gets a system alert that his puppet link has been severed. But instead of panicking that his strongest weapon just broke free, this guy just smirks. He clearly thinks he still has the upper hand. The absolute unit of a muscle mountain looms over the corrupt doctor. Realizing his mind control puppet is officially off the leash, the doc sighs and tries to play it cool. He raises his hands with a smug little smile and asks the giant to spare his life. Yeah, that is not happening. The giant instantly flattens him into the floor with a brutal hammer fist. Talk about a satisfying vibe check. Our boy and his crew are busy brainstorming how to cure the rest of the hospital from the evil doctor's poison. The plan is simple, just drag everyone into his parallel dimension or at least stick a finger in to cleanse the debuff. They agree to go round up the patients themselves, but before they can even take a step, a hand suddenly twitches. A bald old dude snaps out of his trance, looking completely dazed and wondering what the heck he was just doing. The doc is stunned, realizing the mind control is already breaking. But then a massive shadow looms over them. It is the giant muscle head from earlier, absolutely drenched in fresh blood. He bows deeply to express his sincere gratitude for saving him and his mom. He also casually mentions that he already neutralized the corrupt doctor, so they do not need to worry about curing the rest of the hospital. Our boy breaks a sweat, realizing he probably should not ask exactly how the giant took care of the guy. He quickly changes the subject and apologizes for absolutely launching a bowling ball at his face earlier. The giant just laughs it off, saying no bones were broken. Honestly, after watching our boy drop literal pillars of barbell plates from the sky, he figures regular monsters are going to be a total joke from now on. Our guy just awkwardly chuckles, agreeing that he surprises himself sometimes. The blood-soaked giant asks our boy to stick around the hospital for a bit. He knows it is a massive ask since our delivery driver has already done so much heavy lifting, but he bows his head and begs anyway. He even throws in a heartfelt wish for our boy to reunite with his family just to sweeten the deal. But our guy has to drop the bad news. He cannot stay. He leaves them with a massive stockpile of supplies instead. The big guy is beyond grateful for the fresh clothes and weapons. They shake on it and promise to survive long enough to meet again before our boy hops back into his ride and peels out. Back on the cracked asphalt, the driver brings up a wild rumor they just heard. He is convinced it has to be some kind of awakened ability. Our boy just stares out the window trying to process the intel. He flashes back to the big guy dropping a massive lore bomb about their next destination. Apparently, a giant stone wall just sprouted straight out of the ground right between Yahello and Namzan. The big guy said he dipped out while it was still growing, but it is probably taller than a skyscraper by now. And if a giant magic wall was not bad enough, the monsters in that zone are built completely different. The driver drops some heavy lore on our boy. Yahello is crawling with undead freaks that just keep respawning no matter how many times you put them in the dirt. Plus, there is a massive stone wall blocking the entire route. Our guy sweats a little at the thought of immortal zombies. But honestly, he is not sweating it too much. He knows his sister is built different. He fully expects her to be out there treating the apocalypse like a wrestling ring, just ragdolling these immortal freaks with her bare hands. No magic required. Right on cue, his system dings with a page from his other sister inside the subspace. He pops open a portal and she immediately hits him with that classic sibling sass before dropping the good news. The battered soldier they scooped up earlier is finally awake. Our boy steps inside to check on the guy. The soldier immediately hits a crisp 90-degree bow, introducing himself as Lieutenant Colonel Gyongho Han and thanking them for the save. But the military man is understandably tripping out. He knows the map and there definitely should not be a pristine mega warehouse sitting in the middle of the wasteland. Our boy just casually flexes that this entire facility is actually his own personal parallel dimension ability, leaving the colonel completely speechless. The rescued soldier wakes up and is completely lost. He is looking around the warehouse like he just woke up from a bender. Our boy explains they are chilling inside his parallel dimension ability right in the middle of Gangnam. The soldier is just trying to process this absolute nonsense. Suddenly the guy tenses up like he is about to get jumped. Our delivery driver quickly throws his hands up to calm him down, promising they are not going to hurt him. The soldier waves it off, saying he knows they saved his life and patched him up, but there is a much bigger problem they need to worry about. Our boy nods and decides it is story time, but first he has his little AI robot buddy roll up with some premium apocalypse snacks. He hands the guy a classic combo of bread and banana milk. He tells the soldier he can have it on one condition. The poor guy looks at the snack like it is the holy grail. He is literally holding back tears over a convenience store pastry. But our boy is not done flexing. He drops a whole buffet of hot pizza and waffles on the table. With his mouth completely stuffed, the soldier finally starts spilling the tea, explaining how those infernal monsters just randomly spawned out of nowhere. As the crew absolutely demolishes this 5-star buffet, our rescued soldier drops some heavy lore. He explains that when the apocalypse kicked off, these merciless monsters started attacking literally everything in sight. People, animals, and even other monsters were all on the menu. To fight back, the government scrambled to gather up awakened fighters and formed a brand new superpowered combat unit. Mid-bite of a chicken drumstick, he admits that things were actually looking pretty stable in his sector for a minute. But then a massive freaking dragon showed up and completely ruined the vibe. Conventional weapons like guns and explosives were basically just tickling the beast. It completely wiped out the surrounding military bases while the soldiers could only watch in pure terror. The craziest part is that headquarters went completely radio silent during the massacre. With zero backup coming, the surviving squad had to run for their lives. The dragon chased them relentlessly through the woods, picking off his brothers in arms one by one. Desperate to survive, they started recruiting any able-bodied fighters they could find along the way until they finally reached the main command center. But when they finally arrived, the place was a total ghost town. Instead of a warm welcome and some backup, they stumbled onto a massive plot twist. The soldier reveals that the awakened fighters they recruited totally betrayed them and staged a full-blown coup. Our boy and his crew are left completely speechless by the betrayal. The rescued soldier drops some heavy lore between bites of fried chicken. He explains that their squad got completely walled off by that massive dragon, and to make matters worse, the awakened fighters they recruited totally stabbed them in the back. These superpowered traitors slaughtered the regular troops and hijacked the entire military command center. He figures the top brass even joined the coup, and they are keeping it all under wraps to stop the government from fighting back. Our boy takes it all in stride. A literal military coup during the apocalypse is just another Tuesday for him. He tells the soldier they are heading to Yuljiro but promises to drop him off somewhere safe along the way. The soldier is just grateful for the massive feast of pizza and chicken magically appearing in front of him, so he thanks our guy for the VIP treatment. But as the soldier chews on his drumstick, the math stops mathing in his head. He realizes that if this crew rescued him from that base, they definitely had to cross paths with that giant boss dragon. He starts sweating, wondering how a delivery guy and a pilot managed to outrun an unstoppable flying raid boss. Suddenly, his train of thought gets completely derailed as his eyes lock onto something terrifying right behind them. A massive bloodthirsty orc just casually spawns into the lounge, ready to turn their dinner party into a buffet. The soldier completely panics, but before he can even drop his chicken, a giant barbell explosive flies out of nowhere and absolutely obliterates the monster. The beast gets sent straight to the Shadow Realm in a blinding flash of light, leaving the battle-hardened commander completely frozen in absolute shock. Our boy does not just throw hands, he throws the whole gym. A massive 20-kilo weight plate goes flying through the air straight at the roaring orc. The military guy trying to enjoy his pizza is absolutely flabbergasted. He can barely process that stacked gym discs are being used as heavy artillery. But the flex is just getting started. A glowing blue portal opens up right next to his dinner table and a literal military jeep rolls out. The officer drops his jaw, stammering about where the heck a whole vehicle just came from. Our dark-haired protagonist casually leans out the window like he is ordering drive-thru. He tells the guy to keep eating and leaves the portal open like a flat-screen TV so he can watch the carnage live. The officer is left sweating bullets, wondering what kind of broken cheat code ability lets a guy launch pillars of weights and summon jeeps out of thin air. Outside, the giant gray orc roars and charges forward, thinking it is the main boss. Spoiler alert, it is not. The flying 20-kilo cylinder slams into the beast with the force of a freight train, completely obliterating it and sending the surrounding monsters flying like bowling pins. Watching the explosive impact through the portal, the officer can only stare in pure shock, wondering what on earth he is even looking at. The officer is absolutely flabbergasted. He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him earlier, but nope. Our boy is literally launching heavy metal discs at high speeds, firing off 4 per second and changing their direction mid-air. And as if that wasn't broken enough, the ability even retrieves the discs and automatically loots the mana stones from the dead monsters. The officer can only marvel at this incredibly insane power. Leaning out of the jeep, the officer checks the route ahead, noting that the path to Bampo Bridge is completely wrecked. Our black-haired protagonist just laughs it off, casually suggesting they find another way around. The officer is just grateful for the ride. He decides to head back into the safety of the subspace portal, noting that they have only been traveling for an hour. Honestly, making it this far in just an hour through collapsed roads and monster hordes is an absurdly short time. But while our boy's abilities are doing the heavy lifting, the real MVP here is the guy behind the wheel. The older cyclist is drifting this military jeep through the apocalypse like he is in Tokyo Drift. The officer admits he almost threw up his lunch watching it earlier, so he is pretty glad he is chilling inside the subspace now to avoid the motion sickness. With the road ahead looking surprisingly clear, our boy stares out the window ready to face whatever apocalyptic nonsense is waiting for them next. Cruising along the ruined highway, our boy spots a massive glowing fortress wall blocking their path in the distance. He highly doubts their little jeep is going to clear that kind of obstacle, but decides they might as well get a closer look. Plus, heading that way means they have to pass right through Yongsan anyway. Since it is right on their route, he casually offers to drop their rescued military passenger off at his destination. The officer is sweating bullets in the back seat, probably finally realizing just how insanely overpowered his savior actually is. They pull up to a massive intact building, and the soldier hops out, giving them a deep bow of gratitude and wishing them a safe journey before they part ways. Driving off, our boy flashes a confident smile, realizing he only has one major stop left before hitting Yuljiro. He pulls up his system interface, noting he still needs a few hundred more mana stones to level up his subspace again. Doing some quick gamer math, he figures if he keeps farming at his current rate, he can easily hit that milestone in just 2 hours. Gyeongho Han tries to recruit our boy and his driver to the government side, promising them fat stacks of mana stones to help them level up. But Jeongyum hits him with a hard pass. He has a family to save, and he is perfectly capable of farming his own rocks, thank you very much. Instead, Jeongyum asks the real questions. Does the Joint Chiefs of Staff headquarters have a helicopter he can borrow? Jeongho Han is a bit thrown off, but admits they probably do. Meanwhile at said headquarters, a high-ranking commander is having a rough day. He is looking over a map of the absolute devastation, noting that entire cities and divisions have been wiped off the map. He is starting to wonder if the government is even a thing anymore. Just as he is spiraling into an existential crisis, a subordinate knocks on the door. He announces that the sole survivor of the 50th Signal Battalion has just rolled up with an urgent message that he absolutely has to deliver in person. The high-ranking commander is losing his mind. He cannot believe the sole survivor of the communications agency just walked through his door. The rescued soldier throws up a crisp salute, and the commander is just thrilled to see him alive. But the reunion gets serious real quick. The soldier reaches into his jacket and hands over a folded report. The commander reads it and the color completely drains from his face. He starts sweating bullets. He stares at the paper like it just insulted his entire bloodline. Still reeling from the news, the commander looks out his window. Down below, he spots the military jeep that brought his guy back from the dead. Cut to outside and the top brass are literally bowing to our boy. The commander thanks him for doing the country a massive solid. Our guy just shrugs it off, saying he was only helping out a friend. Then the commander brings up the elephant in the room. He mentions our boy's little shopping list. Specifically his casual request for a literal military helicopter and a mountain of food supplies. The top brass commander hits our boy with the classic military recruitment pitch. He promises that handing over a shiny new helicopter is totally doable, but only if our guy signs his life away to the government. The suits are desperate for a heavy hitter to stabilize the apocalypse. But our delivery driver just waves him off without a second thought. He flat out rejects the offer because nothing is more important than saving his family. The commander tries to play hardball. He puts on his best disappointed face and says it is truly unfortunate, but no recruitment means no chopper. He fully expects our guy to beg. Instead, our boy just says cool and literally hops right back into his jeep. The military guys are left completely stunned. They thought they had all the leverage, but our guy is perfectly fine just walking away. He tells his driver to hit the gas. Panic instantly sets in. The commander practically throws himself at the car window, sweating bullets. He realizes he overplayed his hand and quickly backpedals with a compromise. If our boy can complete just one specific request, they will hand over the keys to the bird. Cut to a massive military convoy rolling through the ruined streets of Seoul. Our guy is just chilling in the passenger seat, sipping a juice box like he is on a middle school field trip. They are heading straight for Seoul Station to clear out a massive skeleton blockade. Our boy is just chilling with a juice box while the military briefs him on his new side quest. The target location is still on the grid, but there is a slight bony problem blocking the road. Skeletons. The soldier explains they aren't exactly raid bosses, but they are incredibly annoying to deal with. Why? Because these bony boys have a built-in respawn mechanic. Unless you smash the specific core hiding in their bottom right rib, they just keep getting back up. Our guy takes a sip and translates the military jargon into gamer terms. Basically, they just need him to plow through the undead horde and play taxi for the stranded awakened squad. Sounds like a walk in the park for our overpowered delivery man. He doesn't even bother aiming for the ribs. He just unleashes a barrage of subspace projectiles and turns the entire skeleton crew into calcium dust. The regular soldiers are left sweating bullets as their convoy literally just rolls right over the shattered remains. It is the easiest rescue mission of their lives. They pull up to the target building, and the isolated survivors are already cheering like they just won the lottery. The military convoy rolls out through the ruined city streets. Our boy is just chilling in the passenger seat while the soldiers handle the driving. Inside the truck, the officer gives him a quick debrief. He admits that our guy's subspace abilities make normal skeletons a total joke since he does not have to aim for their tiny cores. But he drops a massive warning about a high-level boss monster roaming the area. They call it the Skeleton Knight. The officer tells him straight up that if he sees this thing, he needs to run away immediately. No fighting, just pure survival. And the hype is completely justified. One of our guy's massive 20-kilogram weight projectiles goes flying through the air only to get effortlessly sliced clean in half. The Skeleton Knight steps out of the dust looking like an absolute unit with glowing red eyes and heavy armor. This guy is not playing around. The crew in the military trucks suddenly hits the brakes. Everyone stares out the windshield in absolute shock like they just saw a ghost. Standing right in the middle of the ruined street is a massive armored skeleton knight. It starts yapping at them in some weird glowing runic language that nobody can understand. Our boy and his sunglass-wearing driver just stare blankly at this undead roadblock. The bony boss slams his giant sword into the pavement. He reaches out and casually crushes a glowing blue mana stone right in his metal gauntlet just to flex on them. Suddenly the runes translate into actual words. The monster introduces himself as Gawain, one of the 12 elite knights serving the King of Knights. He politely asks if our boy is a mage and questions why they are trespassing in his territory. He even has the nerve to suggest they keep things civil and play fair. Yeah, right. Before the skeleton can even finish his villain monologue, a massive slash attack rips through the air and sends him flying backward. Gawain tries to play it cool and boasts that such weak attacks are completely useless against his heavy armor. The armored bonehead gets sent spinning through the air like a frisbee. He has to literally stab his massive sword into the concrete just to hit the brakes and skid to a halt. Looking up with glowing red eyes, he realizes our boy is not here to play nice. He declares that this must be his answer right as a massive stack of heavy barbell plates comes flying at his face. But the knight just swings his shield and deflects the 500-kilo projectile like it is absolutely nothing. He darts forward and starts styling on the delivery man. He dashes through the air and easily dodges the massive cylindrical stacks of metal before charging straight for the military jeep. Inside the truck, the pilot is absolutely losing his mind, screaming that the enemy is slicing through half-ton weights like butter. But our dark-haired protagonist stays completely chill. He realizes that while the plates are not doing any actual damage, they are still knocking the boss back. So he decides to get a little sweaty. He drops 50 mana stones into his system to unlock a brand new skill called Precise Delivery. A glowing blue portal instantly opens up right above the jeep and launches another massive stack of heavy metal straight at the charging knight. The skeleton knight easily sidesteps the massive projectile, mocking our boy for being a dull mage. He boasts that he can dodge these slow attacks all day long. But thanks to that new Precise Delivery skill, the massive stack of plates pulls a U-turn mid-air and crashes right into the cocky undead, sending him skidding backward. The knight recovers and deflects the next plate, warning our boy not to get cocky over one lucky hit. But before he can even finish his sentence, another plate smacks him right in the face, leaving him completely bewildered. Suddenly, the knight is bombarded by high-speed objects he can't even track. And what are these mysterious, armor-cracking projectiles? Bowling balls. Yep, our boy is literally bowling for skeletons, relentlessly pummeling the knight from every angle. Zhongjim calmly confirms the automatic targeting sequence with his AI, while the pilot sweats bullets, just relieved that chucking heavy sports equipment is actually working against this supposedly invincible monster. Our boy realizes he has the upper hand. The supposedly invincible skeleton knight is getting absolutely folded like a cheap lawn chair. It gets pelted in the dome so many times it actually begs for a timeout. The driver and our boy just sit back in the jeep and watch the carnage unfold. The sunglasses guy notices the shrapnel flying off the knight's armor is getting way worse. That gives our boy a big brain idea. If one direction hurts, why not try all of them? He commands his system to ship stacks of heavy plates to smash the knight from the left, right, front, and back all at the exact same time. The portals open up and unleash an absolute barrage of metal that hits the boss with the force of a tactical nuke. The omnidirectional wombo combo is super effective. The knight's skull completely shatters under the pressure. But before it turns to dust, it gives our boy some edgy final props, calling him an impressive mage. The boss drops its loot right on the pavement. 3 shiny rocks hit the deck and immediately get vacuumed up into our boy's subspace portal. The system chimes in with a massive W, confirming he just bagged 2 large mana stone fragments and a super rare enchant stone. The duo in the jeep can finally take a breather. The soldiers in the convoy are absolutely flabbergasted. They stare in pure shock for a second before erupting into massive cheers. Our delivery boy actually pulled off the impossible and packed up the knight. The military commander watches in awe. He remembers begging the kid to retreat if things got too dicey and prioritizing his family first. Now he is looking at him like he is the second coming. He guides our guy toward the chopper while pouring on the praise. But our boy just groans internally. The expectations are getting way too heavy. Plus, he is still sweating over the fight. That bonehead was way tougher than expected, and there are supposedly 11 more of those guys running around. Not to mention whatever the heck a skeleton king is. As they head down the stairs, he tries to make sense of the whack physics in this apocalypse. Somehow his rapid-fire bowling balls crack the armor way better than his massive, heavy projectiles. It makes zero logical sense, but then again, neither do giant monsters roaming the streets. The commander snaps him out of his thoughts with some fresh intel. He confirms they are heading to Yuljiro, but warns him that the military already sent troops there and completely lost contact with them. They have only been able to run aerial surveillance since the blackout. Our guy thanks the boomer for the heads-up, keeping his cool on the outside while mentally preparing for whatever nightmare is waiting for them. Our boy breaks a sweat, but not from the fight. He realizes he isn't actually worried about the monsters in Yuljiro because his sister is way more terrifying than any undead knight. The commander pushes open a door and drops some lore, explaining that the massive walls surrounding the city are actually growing inward to form a roof. They have no idea if the whole zone is going to seal shut completely, making this a literal ticking clock. The commander says it is a good thing they can lend him a chopper before that happens. They step out onto the roof, and our delivery guy stares at his ride. It is an absolute rust bucket. The thing looks like it survived 3 different apocalypses already. He sighs internally, figuring that as long as the hunk of junk can actually fly, he will take it. The commander proudly gestures to the shabby bird like he just handed over the keys to a brand new Ferrari. Our boy is completely deadpan. Meanwhile, the sunglasses pilot finally catches up to them, huffing and puffing from the stairs. But the second he lays eyes on the chopper, the dude completely loses his mind and bursts into maniacal laughter. Looks like they found their designated driver. The military commander keeps hyping up the rusty chopper they just gifted our boy. He assumes the sunglasses guy is some seasoned veteran pilot since he was geeking out over the aircraft earlier. Suddenly, a glowing blue system screen pops up right in the driver's face. It turns out his unique ability is literally called the driving goat. The system identifies the chopper and offers to unlock his helicopter driving skills for a measly 50 mana stones. He casually explains his weird ability to the group. Instead of leveling up his stats like a normal awakened person, his system just registers new vehicles for him to master. Our boy finally realizes why his driver never got any level-up notifications during their entire road trip. Hearing this, the commander tells them to follow him and leads the duo straight over to the helipad. He pops open a silver briefcase packed to the brim with glowing blue mana stones. It is a little parting gift from the military to fund their rescue mission. The commander originally wanted it to be a surprise for when they boarded the Black Hawk. But seeing as the driver needs the stones right this second to unlock his pilot skills, he decides to hand over the shiny rocks early. Our boy drops 50 mana stones to unlock the helicopter driving skill for his pilot buddy. The system instantly downloads the flight manual straight into the guy's brain matrix style. He gasps in pure shock before letting out a maniacal cackle. He is absolutely feral and ready to fly. Our boy sweats bullets and begs him to take it slow, but the pilot shoots him down with a sparkling grin. Not a chance. Inside the cockpit, our boy is literally shedding a tear of pure terror while his pilot laughs like a total psychopath. The guy's hands are an absolute blur as he flips switches and taps buttons at light speed. He tells his passenger to brace himself because they are taking off soon. Our boy just stares blankly at the console. He has absolutely no idea what is going on. Feeling super awkward just sitting there doing nothing, he decides to check out the loot he picked up earlier. He taps open his system interface and finds 2 large mana stones and a D-rank enchant stone. The system chimes in letting him know those large stones can be broken down into 100 regular ones each. He cashes them in and watches his total skyrocket to over 1,300 mana stones. He realizes he farmed way more loot from those skeletons than he originally thought. With his pockets looking heavy, he decides it is time to invest in himself. He drops a cool 1,000 mana stones right then and there to level up his parallel dimension ability. The system dings and starts the upgrade process at 3%. Next up on the agenda is figuring out what to do with this shiny little enchant stone. He pulls up its stats and sees it is packing fire element properties along with pierce and ignite attributes. The system explains that these bad boys work just like regular mana stones, but they can actually be embedded into items to grant them special buffs. He pictures the glowing red gem floating over that skeleton knight's head and realizes he can basically turn any random object into a magical weapon. Our boy decides to test out his shiny new enchant stone. He pulls up his inventory and slaps that bad boy right onto a bowling ball. The system dings and spits out a rare tier flaming sphere of destruction with pierce and ignite attributes. He tells his AI buddy to register a drone to keep an eye on things. Chatting with his crazy pilot companion, he notes that the rapid-fire bowling ball barrage was actually the most effective attack against those skeleton freaks. The chopper blades spin up and they start rolling out. The military commander gives them a crisp salute, wishing our guy luck on his family rescue mission. Our boy throws a thumbs up right as a system notification pops up. His subspace leveled up and unlocked a brand new feature. He can now use product recall on actual human beings registered in his dimension. The sheer terrifying implications of this hit him like a truck and he instantly breaks out in a cold sweat. Meanwhile, the commander is standing there feeling pretty good about himself. He figures that after hooking our boy up with a sweet ride, he will definitely consider joining the military full-time once he gets back, but then he catches a glimpse of the absolute horror on our guy's face as the chopper lifts off. The commander just stands there sweating bullets, wondering if he accidentally did something to offend the most overpowered guy on the planet. Our boy checks out his new system upgrades and spots a feature called Register Categorized Product. Up until now, his subspace had a massive flaw. He could only store one giant location at a time, like the fulfillment center or the military base. He could use the loot inside, but he could not just casually pocket random items he found on the street. But this new update changes the game. As long as an item fits the theme of a warehouse or a military base, he can suck it right into his inventory. Sitting in the passenger seat, he looks around and realizes a military chopper definitely fits the vibe. The system chimes in confirming he can register a Black Hawk for a measly 107 mana stones. Down on the helipad, the base commander hears the rotors chopping the air and turns around completely confused. He wonders why our guy is already flying back and assumes there is some kind of mechanical issue with the bird. But our boy is just doing a little light Grand Theft Auto. A massive blue portal opens up right underneath one of the parked helicopters on the tarmac. With a heavy thud, the entire chopper gets swallowed into his subspace. The portal snaps shut and our guy just casually flies off into the sunset, leaving the commander staring at an empty parking spot in absolute disbelief. As the chopper takes off, the commander throws up a crisp salute. He is really hoping our boy decides to join the military full-time. But then he catches a glimpse of the kid's face through the window. Our guy is staring into the void with a look of absolute horror thanks to that cursed system update. The commander instantly starts sweating bullets, wondering if he accidentally offended the most overpowered guy on the planet. Meanwhile, back in the city, things are going from bad to apocalyptic. Massive stone walls are literally rising out of the concrete and completely sealing off the district under a giant dome. It is giving major domain expansion vibes, and the ominous red lighting is definitely not a good sign. Deep inside a Gothic cathedral, we finally meet the architect behind this mess. The King of Knights is chilling on his throne, looking like a literal Dark Souls boss. He is completely baffled by the recent events. He assumes our boy is some arrogant high-ranked mage who intentionally downgraded his own stats just to enter Earth's dimension. A floating purple skull named Lancelot pops up to deliver the bad news about Gwaine getting packed up. Lancelot begs for permission to go execute this so-called mage and bring back his head. The king agrees the kid is a massive threat who probably wants to steal their territory, but he tells his minion to chill out. There is no reason to rush when they have a harvest to complete. He clenches his armored fist and declares that once they finish gathering their resources, they will immediately hunt down the mage. Meanwhile, inside a Gothic cathedral, a floating purple skull warns his armored boss that some humans just breached the castle. But the Skeleton King just brushes it off. He calls them annoying little toys and figures the closing roof will trap them anyway, so they are basically free takeout for Camelot. Outside, a giant bat monster tries to pull up on our boys but instantly gets vaporized by a beam of light. The rusty military chopper cruises right through the ruined city streets without a scratch. Inside the cabin, our boy is busy crunching numbers. He realizes his new bowling ball weapon hits way harder than his barbell plates and wonders if he wasted that fire enchant stone. Up front, the pilot announces they reached the drop zone, but landing is going to be a massive problem. He glances down and realizes the airspace is a little too spicy right now. The chopper hovers over a deep urban canyon that is absolutely crackling with blue lightning. Down below, a brand new blue armored skeleton knight is dashing through the rubble. This guy is charging up his rapier with high voltage energy, ready to skewer whoever is in his way. But his target is not some helpless survivor. A muscular woman with short brown hair stands her ground as her body flares up with golden aura. Our boy watches from above, completely locked in. The woman winds up and delivers a devastating golden haymaker that sends the lightning skeleton flying backward into a concrete wall like a ragdoll. The pilot is sweating bullets. He warns our boy they might have to throw down with both of these freaks at once, but our guy is just staring at the dust cloud. He realizes the real monster here is not the undead knight. It is the absolute unit who just sent it flying across the block. A glowing fist clenches. The dust clears to reveal a seriously jacked woman looking mildly annoyed that the skeleton has not crumbled yet. Yep, that terrifying powerhouse is none other than his younger sister's soul. Let's rewind to when our boy's older sister was just a kid. She stumbled onto a mixed martial arts match on TV and was instantly hooked. When her little brother asked to play swords, she absolutely folded him with a single punch. But she wasn't satisfied with how fast he dropped. Craving a real challenge, she hit up the local playground and started ragdolling kids 3 years older than her. Recognizing her terrifying potential, her dad signed her up for a real MMA gym. She finally tasted her first defeat in the ring, but instead of crying, the crazy girl just smiled and realized she loved the thrill of the fight. Blessed with a natural physique and an absolute obsession for combat, she trained like a maniac. By 7th grade, she was completely untouchable in the junior division, suplexing everyone in her path. But her unhinged passion came with a price. She pushed herself way too hard and ended up tearing the ligaments in both of her knees. Impatient and stubborn, she kept jumping back into training before she was fully healed, racking up a laundry list of injuries. Because of all that damage, she only just made her pro debut last year at age 24. Back in the present, our boy finishes recounting his sister's insane backstory over the helicopter headset. He casually asks his pilot to lower their altitude so he can drop a bowling ball on the monster she is currently fighting, leaving the pilot sweating as he realizes the sister is just as much of a monster as her brother. A massive beam of light crashes down, but the blue armored skeleton knight just brushes off the dust. He looks at the athletic girl standing casually across the ruined street and asks the million-dollar question. Why the heck can't his attacks reach her? She just shrugs and tells him his hands are way too slow. The bony guy refuses to accept he is just slow. He insists she must be using some high-level secret technique. But our girl just deadpans that she literally just watches his shoulders and footwork. The knight is absolutely mind-blown by this basic concept. He admits that if it wasn't for his boss's hierarchy buff, she would have totally folded him. Out of sheer respect for her mastery of the fundamentals, the skeleton offers her a free pass out of the death zone. He promises to put in a good word with the Night King so she can escape the closing walls. But right in the middle of his noble speech, a massive fiery projectile drops straight from the heavens and obliterates him on the spot. The smoke clears to reveal the ultimate weapon of mass destruction, a literal bowling ball. Our girl stares at the flaming crater in absolute disbelief, wondering how a random piece of sporting equipment just one shot at a boss she was struggling with. The knight's shattered remains burn to a crisp as his dropped loot gets instantly sucked up into a glowing portal in the sky. The flaming bowling ball drops from a glowing portal in the sky. Our girl is left completely stunned, wondering what kind of absolute unit throws a bowling ball into a monster fight. But before she can even process the sheer disrespect of that attack, a massive military helicopter descends right through the portal and touches down in the ruins. A familiar silhouette steps out of the dust. Our boy swings the door open with a cocky grin. He casually greets her as number 2, noting that she is still kicking ass just like he expected. She stares back in absolute shock, realizing this overpowered helicopter pilot is actually her little brother number 3. Cut to a massive feast of pizza and fried chicken inside his infinite subspace. Our boy asks if her invisible barrier ability is what makes her physically cracked. But she just casually stuffs a chicken leg in her mouth and admits her stats are just naturally built different. The barrier has absolutely nothing to do with her throwing hands. He tells her to slow down before she chokes, pointing out that their older sister used to eat exactly the same way. He has just relieved all 3 of them awakened and survived the apocalypse. Now they just need to track down their older brother. She asks if he is using some kind of real-life cheat code to pull all this off, but he brushes it off as a long story. He tells them to chill in the subspace and use his AI system to order whatever they need. He also tells them to say hi to his driver's family who are already crashing there. But playtime is over. He stands up and declares they need to bounce immediately. The giant stone walls enclosing the city are about to seal the ceiling completely, and they cannot afford to get trapped inside. Our boy realizes they need to dip immediately. The giant stone dome over the city is closing up way faster than he thought. He wanted to stick around and farm some magic stones, but the sky is literally sealing shut above them. Just as he looks up, the last sliver of light completely vanishes. They hop into the chopper and unleash a heavy barrage of explosive rounds right at the ceiling. But when the smoke clears, the stone does not even have a single scratch on it. This thing is built different. Our guy is sweating bullets in the passenger seat. He briefly considers just shoving the entire ceiling into his subspace, but checks his system and realizes he is basically broke. He only has 36 magic stones left, and it costs 15 just to summon the helicopter. If he keeps spamming his abilities like a pay-to-win whale, he is going to hit a massive progression wall. He links up with his older sister to brainstorm. He worries that his subspace might accidentally suck up the entire city if he tries to absorb the wall. His sister wonders if the warning they got from that floating skull was actually legit. If they stay trapped in here, they might actually be cooked. Our boy realizes they are on a serious ticking clock. Our boy is stressing out in the passenger seat. They are on a massive time crunch and have zero clue where this Night King is hiding in the massive city of Yuljiro. But the pilot just smirks and promises they will be there in 5 minutes flat. Our boy instantly realizes he made a huge mistake letting this guy take the stick. The pilot completely ignores his desperate pleas to slow down and just starts whipping the Black Hawk through the ruined skyline like he is playing Grand Theft Auto. The dude is absolutely cackling like a supervillain while pulling maneuvers that would make a fighter pilot puke. Meanwhile, over at the bad guy headquarters, a floating purple skull is giving the boss man a status update. He reports that one of their elite knights just got absolutely folded without landing a single hit. The Skeleton King is not happy about this little disruption to his grand harvest. He clenches his bony fist and demands to know where these interlopers are hiding so he can deal with them himself. But the skull tells him to chill out because the intruders are actually delivering themselves right to their front door. The king is genuinely surprised by the sheer audacity. Right on cue, the heavy thumping of helicopter blades echoes through the cathedral. The chopper touches down outside the red-lit fortress. Inside the cockpit, our boy is fighting for his life against the worst motion sickness known to man. He looks absolutely green and ready to hurl his entire stomach out the window. Meanwhile, inside the spooky red castle, the Skeleton King is getting the latest tea from his floating skull minion. He is a little confused hearing the intruders might be undead instead of some fancy magician, but he honestly does not care. If they are marching straight to his throne room, it just saves him the hassle of hunting them down. Plus, he figures his outer guards will probably just pack them up before they even reach the front door anyway. Cut to our boy, who is currently fighting for his absolute life against motion sickness. He stumbles out of the chopper and immediately starts violently puking his guts out. He swears on his life he is never getting in a helicopter again, completely ignoring his sister who is just watching him struggle with zero sympathy. The dude is literally drooling and fighting demons right now. And because the universe hates him, a giant ugly bat monster decides this is the perfect time to try and take a bite out of our nauseous hero. But before the overgrown rat can even get close, his muscle-bound sister steps up and absolutely obliterates it with a lightning-infused right hook. She does not even break a sweat. Our boy barely has a second to duck as a screeching pink bat monster lunges straight for his face. But before it can even land a scratch, his muscle mommy sister steps in and absolutely rocks its jaw with a brutal right hook. She follows it up with a lightning-infused kick that sends the ugly thing flying backward. They catch their breath at the entrance of the cathedral hall. The athletic girl glances back at their reckless pilot still chilling by the chopper and squints suspiciously at the whole setup. But playtime is officially over. They look down the red carpet and realize the bat monster is already twitching back to life. It lets out a nasty growl as its eyes flash a glowing demonic red. And it brought friends. A massive swarm of glowing red eyes lights up the pitch-black darkness ahead. While our boy starts sweating bullets as his blue subspace portal hums open behind them, his battle-junkie sister just flashes a massive excited grin. The muscle mommy is absolutely hyped. She tells her brother she would have been disappointed with just one target and immediately dashes ahead to get first blood. She leaps right into the fray and brutally curb stomps the first bat monster into the red carpet. She stands over its crushed skull like an absolute boss. The rest of the screeching swarm lunges at her, but she is completely in her element. She throws a brutal right hook into one ugly mug before ducking under another and delivering a massive glowing kick that sends them flying. One of the sneaky rats manages to sink its fangs right into her neck, but instead of crying about it, she just flashes a demonic grin. She grabs the overgrown rat by the skull and hurls it like a baseball right into its buddy. She is having way too much fun with this warm-up. Our boy watches his sister go absolutely feral on the bat swarm, noting she is having the time of her life. But when he checks his tablet to get a head count, his jaw drops. Turns out he can drop 250 mana stones to unlock the modify function in his lab. Meanwhile, his sister is just out here playing whack-a-mole with these ugly, screeching bats. She smashes them into the pavement and eagerly asks for seconds. But suddenly, the remaining bats get distracted. She turns around to see a massive, crackling blue light show. Yep, our boy just deployed a giant semi-rare electric bug zapper. And he is just chilling in a high-tech massage chair behind a barrier, praising his new toy while his sister glares at him for stealing her kills. Our boy is literally just chilling in his gamer chair while his bug zapper does all the heavy lifting. His sister is absolutely fuming though. She yells at him for kill stealing when she was just getting warmed up, reminding him this isn't a boxing match and they need to speedrun this dungeon. Meanwhile, a floating flaming skull is live-streaming this entire beatdown straight to his boss. The Skeleton King asks if his minion is actually seeing this right, and the skull confirms he has a front-row seat to the disrespect. The skull reports that alongside the item spamming mage, there is a human woman who hits like an absolute truck. The king rubs his bony temples, already stressed out about dealing with a mage, let alone a brawler who can punch out his entire army. Realizing he is completely outmatched, the king decides to pull out the big guns and summon Lancelot. His skull advisor warns him that bringing a rank 7 entity to Earth is going to piss off the Chamber of Commerce, but the king does not care. He knows a mage is at least rank 8, and with a knight-level ally backing him up, playing fair is just a guaranteed game over. The skull accepts his fate, offering up his life for the cause. The king promises his sacrifice will not be in vain as the minion swirls into a glowing red gem, giving his boss the exact fuel he needs to summon his ultimate weapon. The bony monarch crushes his glowing red gems to summon his ultimate weapon. He calls forth his most loyal sword Lancelot to deal with the intruders. Meanwhile, back in the subspace lab, our boy is playing post-apocalyptic handyman. He strips some heavy-duty wiring and slaps together a brand new toy. The system registers it as a semi-rare electric bug zapper baseball bat hybrid. His musclehead sister takes it for a test swing and instantly falls in love with the crackling voltage. It is the perfect tool for a girl who just wants to smash things. Stepping back onto the bloody cathedral carpet, she thanks her brother for the upgrade. Our guy explains that duct taping two overpowered items together actually nerfed the overall stats down to semi-rare, but she does not care as long as it hits hard. Suddenly, she starts aggressively scratching her neck, complaining about a weird itch from hopping dimensions. Our boy starts sweating bullets, asking if she is turning into a vampire. She tells him to put her down if she starts growing fangs, but before they can finish their sibling banter, a massive door creaks open. A booming voice echoes through the hall, welcoming the wise mage to his humble chamber. The duo looks up, completely caught off guard by the sudden boss music. The skeletal boss on the throne starts yapping. He assumes our boy is just some greedy mage from a place called Arcane and demands some respect, but the muscle sister is completely unbothered. She just scratches her neck and notes how convenient it is that they found the final boss without even trying. The Bone King warns them that there is no turning back now. The athletic girl literally asks what this fool is blabbering about. Realizing these two have zero interest in his villain monologue, the king decides playtime is over. He declares they are going to die right here and summons his elite knight, Lancelot, to do the dirty work. But instead of being scared, the sister just grins. She steps up, absolutely hyped to test out her brand new bug zapper bat. She shrugs off her jacket and tells her brother to sit this one out because she wants the one-on-one. She charges in and swings her electric bat right at the armored knight. The weapons clash in a massive shower of sparks. But our boy watches in absolute shock as the bat immediately starts cracking. Even with his overpowered barrier protecting it, the weapon just cannot handle the pressure. With one massive boom, the knight swings his sword and completely shatters her brand new toy into pieces. Our boy realizes it is not the weapon that is weak. This armored freak is just built different. His sister rarely hands out compliments, so if she admits this guy is tough, he must be an absolute unit. The four-eyed knight steps up to the plate and starts casually batting away a barrage of incoming fireballs like it is a simple warm-up drill. He slices through the projectiles with absolute pinpoint precision. Our guy is left completely sweating at this ridiculous display of speed, but his sister is not about to just stand there and watch. She dashes right past him and launches herself straight into the fray. She lands a massive heavy punch directly onto the knight's helmet, then instantly ducks to dodge his lethal counter-slash. The athletic girl lands a massive punch right on the knight's helmet, but the guy does not even flinch. He gets blasted back by a huge explosion, only to casually recover mid-air and stick the landing without a single scratch on his shiny armor. Our boy is completely stunned. A direct hit to the dome and nothing? He realizes this knight is giving off the exact same terrifying aura as the Skeleton King himself. The girl quickly yanks him back behind a protective barrier just as the undead lord orders his shiny new toy to chase them down. She asks if he is seriously holding her back over a single magic stone, but our guy knows better. He warns her that this knight is way out of their league, especially since he just tanked a flaming bowling ball like it was a gentle breeze. And right on cue, the knight charges forward and thrusts his sword straight into their hexagonal barrier. The shield cracks instantly, leaving our boy absolutely sweating bullets. Sol and our boy are sweating bullets as the barrier cracks right in front of them. He realizes this overpowered knight is way too close for comfort. Lancelot just stands there in his red aura, casually swatting away every single projectile they throw at him like he is playing Fruit Ninja. Our guy is absolutely flabbergasted that this dude is parrying point-blank shots. The deflected junk bounces harmlessly away. Meanwhile, the Skeleton King is chilling on his throne, calling their strategy completely pathetic. He roasts them for hiding behind a dimensional gate and just spamming items instead of using real magic. The bony boss admits he gets why they are acting so cocky. If they were fighting regular 8th rankers, they might actually have a chance. But he drops the hammer, revealing that Lancelot is a 7th ranker who is completely immune to their cheap tricks. The king whines about how he is going to face massive sanctions from the Chamber of Commerce for summoning a high-tier unit, but he claims he had literally nothing left to lose. He dumped his entire life savings into this raid, and if he did not summon Lancelot, he would have been wiped out anyway. He sighs that if he is going down, he might as well take the penalty. But his villain monologue gets cut short when he looks down and realizes his throne room is literally overflowing with a burning mountain of random garbage our boy just chucked through the portal. The Skeleton King stares at the massive pile of junk littering his throne room and finally connects the dots. He realizes our boy is just spamming random items instead of using actual magic, to a high-tier boss like him that is just wildly inefficient. Meanwhile, the armored knight is just standing there parrying every single attack like it is a casual warm-up. Our black-haired guy is sweating bullets trying to figure out how to bypass this absolute unit. The system helpfully chimes in with some crafting options, but the prices are absolutely ridiculous. 250 mana stones for a transformation function, and another 120 just to make a giant bug zapper bat. Our guy realizes he completely blew his budget crafting weapons earlier and is officially broke. He is going to have to fight with whatever's is left in his pockets. The problem is his absolute best weapon right now is a flaming bowling ball, and as he watches it literally bounce off the knight's boot, he knows he is in deep trouble. If this guy just camps the portal spawn, they are completely cooked. The knight orders them to stop right at the barrier line, but then the Skeleton King struts forward with a massive grin on his bony face. He looks right at our guy and drops a massive truth bomb. He knows our boy is not a mage at all. He is just a human who figured out an infinite item glitch. The bony boss finally puts 2 and 2 together. He realizes our boy isn't some high-level mage but a walking infinite glitch. He immediately tells his armored attack dog to stand down, declaring the siblings aren't enemies anymore, but potential business partners. Our duo is just standing there completely baffled by this sudden pivot. The undead CEO decides to pitch his startup idea. He starts monologuing about those shiny red enhancement stones our guy has been looting off the skeleton knights all day. Our boy mentally checks his inventory, remembering the fat stack of gems he just bagged. The king explains that these stones are top-tier loot used to buff special items and summons, pointing right at the massive rank 7 knight standing inches from our guy's face as prime exhibit A. Then comes the pitch. Since our boy can literally copy items, the king wants to team up and mass-produce these highly valuable stones. He gets that greedy red glow in his eye sockets, calling it the opportunity of a lifetime. The only tiny catch is that his castle is actually a giant item that grinds up living humans to mint the stones. As the king keeps yapping about profit margins, our boy just wipes a fake tear from his eye. He cuts the bony boomer off, flashing a massive grin and thanking him for solving literally all of his problems. Without missing a beat, he casually tells his AI assistant to just shove the entire castle into his subspace inventory, leaving the king completely dumbfounded. The entire castle environment just straight up dissolves into thin air, leaving the Skeleton King standing in the middle of the ruined city looking like a total clown. He looks around in absolute shock, wondering what the hell just happened. He turns to the portal and sees our boy and his sister casually inspecting a brand new toy. Yep, Jongyum just pocketed the entire Camelot castle into his subspace, shrinking it down to the size of a Monopoly piece. The Skeleton King absolutely loses his mind. He starts raging about how a lowly 9th rank slave dared to steal his entire fortune and unleashes a massive green skull blast right at them. But our boy just stands there completely unfazed. He turns to the massive armored knight and casually asks Laszlo to do him a solid and take out the trash. Since Jongyum now owns the castle, he owns the knights too. Laszlo immediately agrees, and before the Skeleton King can even process his massive screw-up, he gets sliced clean in half with a single glowing red strike. The armored knight doesn't hesitate for a single second. He charges forward and unleashes a massive glowing sword strike that threatens to cleave right through their defenses.